What's going on, everyone? What's going on? Oh, man. Andrew, what's going on? Good to see you in there, Mr. Haberman. Renee Cruz, why do we have two? Why do we have two of you? Yo, what's up? What's going on, man? Good to see you in there. Arts and Crafts. Hello, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Happy Valentine's to everybody as well, right? Jack Bruce, I'm on time. Now. Haha. 420 Alien, what's going on? Good to see you in there, man. Kenneth Lair, good to see you in there, and thank you for your research, by the way. Oh, let's see. Make this thing a little bit bigger. Love the way these things are always super tiny. Oh, there we go. Extraterrestrial alien videos? No, there's some Mars ones. Got a cold, guys, so you have to excuse me. A little bit of a scratchy throat, just enough to make you cough and all that other good stuff. You know how it goes. Todd Burdett, hi from West Virginia. What's going on, neighbor? Mimi, what's going on? Good to have you in there. Hello, guys, and greetings from Germany, he says. Or she says. I got. Alien Tenno's in there. Hello, Chris, and everyone, he says. What's going on, Robert Grace? Good to see you in there. Dad talk with son. No one knows. Hello from Tucson. What's going on? What's happening over there in Tucson? Hope it's warmer than here. Good Lord. Mother Nature has finally flipped her lid. No doubt. Oh, it's the way you put on there, Renee. That's why you said I'm not one. Andrew was one, but you put one, then you put two. So you must have went, oh, I'm one. Oh, no, I'm not. I see what you did there now. Caught yourself, huh? Crossroad 4123, hi all. Good evening, Chris. Happy Friday. Well, happy Friday to you as well. CJ Carter, hello, guys, from Ontario, Canada. Hey, Chris, what's going on, CJ? Noble Welsh. Hello, everyone. Archie Murchie, he said, hey, Chris, just dipping in to say hello and thanks for the great work you do. Gotta go. We'll watch when I can. Hope you read this. Peace and love, man. Well, thank you, Archie. Appreciate you. Glad you popped in. Danny Ruiz, he said, hey, Chris, from LA. What's going on in LA today? Eric Bauer says, hello, everyone. Well, hi, everyone. Peter Ferrero, hey, Chris, celebrating with wife, our first date, 1976. Oh, that's awesome, man. Congrats. That's awesome. Been married to my wife for 33 years. I've been with her for 34, a little over that. So awesome. Congrats. Muddy Man 00 says, hello from Norway. What's going on? $786 Auto. Thank you, sir, for your support, as always. Much appreciated. Good to have you in there. See, I'm still a little bit behind. That's why I seen it. It just popped up now on this one. I don't know what it is. I could be on the live feed watching it like you guys are doing, right? And see it instant. But for this one, it takes like 1 or 2 seconds later. Really weird, but regardless, still pretty cool. That's why I try to keep that one on so I can see it first before it pops on this one. Viral Valley says, hey guys, this channel has opened my eyes from the UK. Well, I appreciate that, Viral Valley. Well, it's like I said, if you're new to the channel, that's what we do here. We just take these photos, anything that looks anomalous, meaning it stands out from its environment or its surroundings, we have a look at it. Now, whether we know what these things are, no way of knowing. We can only speculate, and when we do, we all try to figure out what this thing is. So there really is no right or wrong answer, to be truthful. We just say, well, it looks like this. It could be this. Doesn't mean it's a definite, and doesn't mean we know exactly what it is. So everybody's opinions welcome here, as long as with respect to everybody else and the channel. We got no problems. That's the way it is. Well, Walt says first weekend hangout. Well, good to have you in there, man. Craig McCauley's in there. What's going on, man? What's happening? Oh, Josh D, I'm glad you still came in to say hello. I know you said you're going to probably not be able to stay, so I'm glad you at least popped in. You said hello, just saying hi, and give all of you my regards. I skipped night's sleep. Was busy. Have a good hangout, my friends. I'll be here next week. Well, good having you in there, Josh D. Like I said, get some sleep, man. I know how you feel, man. I've been jammed. I've been busy here myself. Between having this little bug that's going around like there's no tomorrow, and working my butt off too, and it's just it runs you down, man. It'll wear you out. So, I feel you. I know. Get yourself some rest and chill. You know what I'm saying? Tim from Missouri. What's going on, Tim? Good to have you in there. Robert Gray says, looking forward to seeing the merch, Chris. Yeah. I was actually supposed to be today or tomorrow. Unfortunately, I was kind of hoping to get it today. I could have showed it all you guys because I want to wear the stuff myself. And so when it does come in, I'll definitely have it on. And then I'm going to make it available so everybody can get it. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. Pretty much as the banner that we have. And we'll be having new ideas, too, coming up. So different, pictures and stuff we can put on there. So definitely be keeping a lookout, right? Muddy Man, no, I haven't. You said, have you ever seen an uncovered photo of Mars surface that has not been covered up? We've seen in between, we're going to use the term in between the manipulations because, in fact, I'm going to do a moon photo that you're just going to see it. And it's going to be just about not so much any kind of manipulations, but, it's all about manipulation as opposed to actually seeing the structures or whatever's there. So like I said before, the reason why I started that to begin with, doing these as well is because I started looking at these moon photos long ago before I started doing videos. And the funny thing about it is, if they're lying about the moon, why would they not lie about Mars? It's a given. If they're going to hide what's really there, then what's that tell you, right? Greg McCauley, thank you, sir, for your support as always. He said, yes, sounds great. I'll get some. Yeah, everything from guys, hoodies, tees, like the V-neck tees, the regular classic tees, all that good stuff. Anything from, anything from phone covers, the cases, the stuff like that. Be pretty awesome. Definitely get me some too. Mario's Msss. He said, hello from Athens. Hellas Grace. What's going on? Caesar V, hello from Romania. You do an amazing job here. Thank you. I appreciate that, Caesar. Or Caesar. I don't know exactly how you pronounce that, but thank you. And welcome aboard there from Romania there, right? Alfie Joe Bob says, pound the thumb. I'm not found. Yeah, I'll be all right. The thumbs up button, guys. Slam it hard. 420 Alien says, says the same thing. Don't forget to hit that like button. Mario's, you said your last video was one of the best. You know what the funny thing about it is, I was kind of contemplating whether to do it after the hangout because it was literally like just about an hour before, almost an hour, pretty close, to actually going on live. And I was kind of contemplating. I said, just throw it on there, just be done with it, right? This way, it gives you guys something to watch. So if you haven't watched it already, it'll give you something to watch right after the hangout. So, so I get a little extra love, live hangout and a video. How good is that? Alien Tenno, the last vid, Chris, the object on the right side. If that's a rock, I was born on Saturn. You were? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I said the same thing. I actually cut out a piece of this. I said, if that's really a rock, guys, I'll kiss your ass. And I said, I'm trying to be nice about this, right? But the funny thing about it is, people will literally look at that. You see symmetry and everything, and it's a rock. That's the sad part. People they're being willfully ignorant or they flat out just don't want, they're either just in denial or, they can be bounced from other channels just to give a thumbs down or whatever. And like I said, they believe that they're doing something, but they're not. In fact, YouTube likes to see interactions, whether good, bad, or indifferent. So it's not bothering the channel, but yet they think they are. So I think I find it amusing. I think it's pretty funny. But yeah, that is, like I said, you get symmetry, and here's the thing. I mean, just look at the stuff on the side of it, like up on the hill too. It's just crazy what you see there, right? Uh, Josh Devon, what's going on, man? You said you got your brother to subscribe to your channel. Don't think he will get to Hangout, but he and his wife are looking at your vids. Open their eyes already. So thank you for the investigation. Oh, I appreciate that, John D. And well, if they've, like you said, if they subscribed, then awesome. Good to have them aboard. And like I said, I mean, they can make their own decisions, right? They look at it, and if it's something they're interested in, cool, they can hang. Some people might just, oh, it's not what I thought it would be, and they jump off. And I've done that on the channels myself, and it wasn't anything to do with stuff like this. It was like anything from like car videos, either rebuilding something or just messing around with turbos and superchargers, kind of farting around with them and different stuff. And I watch all different kinds of videos, and sometimes you get on something, you go, it's just not it's not my flavor. It's not what I was looking for. So yeah, you have a tendency to do that, and it's just normal. That's the way I look at it. So yeah. Whoop, this thing just jumped on me. I love that when it does that. It's awesome. Happy Friday, everyone. CC My Harley D says, what's going on there, Mr. Harley D? Elohim Daleth, or Daleth, yeah. Hello all. What's going on? Michael Stark, what's going on, man? Haven't seen you in a while. Actually, I think you were on the last one, right? What's up, Chris? Happy Friday, everybody, or everyone. No doubt. Friday's always a good day. You know that. It's the end of the work week. It is like, yeehaw. So, yeah, awesome. Yeah. Mimi says, Mimi reacts, I've found so many things in the latest gigapans. It's like NASA doesn't even try anymore to hide stuff. Well, it's either that or you've become accustomed to actually looking through the BS, right? Because when I first saw this stuff, I was just like, it was so hard to just pull it out and just look at it and say, man, is that what I'm really seeing? And then after you get an eye for it, it's like just comes like natural. I mean, but they have gotten lazy, true, as well. So definitely true. They've done that where they've gotten lazy about it. So it is what it is, and nothing you can really do about that. John Devon, you said I've heard so many people admit they manipulate the pics after they get the original since the '60s. Yeah, I mean they've been doing that, and you can look this up. Of course, according to NASA, they were doing the moon photos that way because it was aesthetically better looking and for the public. Bull. Like I said, when I show you this next moon video, it's not so much about the anomalies, but the anomaly is the actual manipulations. Really sad. And you can chalk it up to a low res photo to a certain degree, right? You can get you can see compression artifacts. But think about it, they weren't, unless they're redoing them in digital. These weren't digital photos to begin with. So even if they did transfer them into digital, make them into digital, then obviously you'll get some kind of compression artifacts. But what's funny about it is when you when you see these things, it's like picture a rock and you can see it off in the distance. You zoom into it, all you see is like a square around it, and you see the rock pretty good and just a little bit of surroundings. The rest of it is completely blurred. Completely blurred. It's crazy how they do this stuff. Muddy Man, you said, I'm also curious about the Mars scare and the so-called volcanoes that are not far away. They seem to be anything other than but volcanoes, anything of this topic in the future. I'm not sure what you mean. Mars scare. Talking about the volcanoes on Mars, or I'm curious if you can elaborate on that. Massanissa, what's going on? He said, hi, Chris. How are you? I'm doing fine. I hope you're doing well as well. Josh D says, hammer time. Hit that like, that thumbs up. Trippy Figueroa. Yeah, that's what it is. Hi, guys. What's going on? Says, much love from New York City. What's going on from NYC? Renee Cruz, happy St. Valentine's Day. Right back at you. Hope you're having a good day. Oh, there it goes. Thing just jumped on me there. He reacts says, Chris, what are your top 10 findings? Oof. See, every now and then you guys will ask me, what's your best finding? What's this? What's that? It's like, truthfully, I don't know because I think everything that I find, now, obviously, there'll be better looking things, right? So that would be your favorites. Um, but I find it every one of them because you're not even supposed to be seeing these things. So to me, everything is like something in a, um, it's like a grab bag, right? You look at the thing, you never know what you're going to find. You're like, oh, wow, that's awesome. So I think just about all of it, if you really think about it, is because you're not supposed to be seeing these things. And the stuff that they don't cover, that's even better. Because when you do see it, you're like, awesome. This is cool. Phil Cox with daughters Jessica and Kelsey Brown. What's going on? Good to have you in there, man. Hope your day is going well. He says, hi, Chris. Hi, everyone. My Harley D says, Chris, do you think our government really knows what happened to Mars? Like found computers, video books that told some of Mars history? That's a great question. I believe they, obviously, if they're in the middle of it, they know it was some kind of catastrophe, right? And they know that there was two, nuclear explosions in the atmosphere of Mars. Okay, so they know about that. They see the destruction and what happened, the event, what it caused, and all the destruction. Now, it's probably like basically a puzzle, right? They're trying to figure out what it is that caused it, and time frame, and who did it. Blah 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 blah. That's the only thing I can think of now. Whether they found technology like you're talking of, or you're speaking about, like computers and video books, stuff like that, I don't know. That's a great question. And you could bet if they were looking for it and it's there, they found it. You can almost bet on it. Um, like I said, I mean, you just when you when you see these things doctored up, like you can see a rock, and what's funny is you see this rock, and people go, "Oh, man, it's a rock." Yeah, but look closer. Usually in the lower corners on the bottom, they like skip out on those, and you see like this white square piece sticking right out of the bottom. How is that possible when it's just a complete rock? So two things come to my mind. One, which I think is both, but one is that the object is now encrusted. But why isn't the rest of it encrusted? So, but it's still possible. Two, it's manipulated. So it's probably both or either or. Um, there's just no way. I mean, I tell people just go slowly over these so-called rocks. And you know what? You're going to find rocks there. There's no doubt about it because it's on the ground. But look carefully. Let's look at each rock. And you see like little wire pieces sticking out, like looks like literally like a little piece of wire sticking out. Or so you go, first thing you got to question is that a piece of wire? Is it a part of something organic sticking out of it? What is that? Um, because it's supposed to be a barren planet. It's been like that for millions of years. So there should be nothing on this planet of anything of any value, organics or anything, even if it's a root sticking out of the darn thing. Why would it be there? For millions of years, there hasn't been life, according to NASA. So none of that should be even there. And just about all of these rocks, guys, the way they talk about these windstorms that can be horrendous, right? Um, and blow up to 300 miles an hour. Then most of the face of these rocks should not be sharp. If this had been like this for a million years, because you do have such a temperature swing on Mars that it should be constantly windy. I mean, if you think about it, if it's 80 degrees right now where you live, and that's Fahrenheit, if it's 80 degrees, all of a sudden it went down to 30 below zero. Don't you think there's going to be some kind of conflict in the atmosphere? There's got to be some kind of turbulence. There has to be. So constantly there must be some kind of wind going. According to them, you're talking about average of 70 degrees in the summertime at the equatorial region, down to like 70, 80 degrees below zero. There has to be some kind of wind, man. There has to be some clouds forming. There has to be something. You can't have that kind of temperature swing and not have some kind of turbulence in the air. And yet these rocks are like, jagged. And you think most of that stuff would be completely rounded off of like sand beaten. You know what I mean? But I do believe they actually know what's going on. They're just trying to piece all that together. Mimi reacts, following the breadcrumbs. Absolutely. It's all we can do is basically look at the little tidbits that they're on us. Because, like I said, they'll throw you a bone every now and then. You're like, oh, wow, awesome. So that's what we're looking for, guys. Looking for those little tiny little, tidbits of information. Andrew Haberman says Mr. MBB 333 has an absolutely amazing. Yeah, he actually has some good stuff on that channel. I don't know how he finds it all, but he's got some good stuff, and he's got some good videos. Robert Christ, yeah, you got that right. So when is a butte not a butte? When it's on Mars. I'm like I said, I tell people, listen, there's no doubt about it. We're seeing rocks in these photos. We're seeing hillsides. We're seeing buttes. We're seeing that. But I'm starting to think that these people built into some of these buttes and stuff, and it makes perfect sense. How do we know their theory or their research has told them that Mars was once like Earth at one time? Okay. What if they're wrong? What if it's always been the same way it is now, only with liquid, meaning it had water on there? They have lied about the pressure on Mars. So between the water cycle that they have on there, the pressure is not what they claim. It's actually better. And I think it's got more pressure than they claim it does. Let's see. It has wispy clouds, has cirrus clouds, like weather changing clouds. It has precipitation. It's been known. There was a photo a long time ago I seen, and they actually showed it where it looked like there's ice on parts of the actual rover, on the deck of it, and everything else. So it has precipitation, it has evaporation. You have to have evaporation, not evaporation, but evaporation before you can have precipitation, right? So there's a water cycle. There's an actual cycle on that planet, and when you see that, you can't help but just go, okay, so clearly that planet had some life on it. And if that's true, let's say it's the way it is now, only it did have water on it and stuff like that, and that would tell me that maybe they didn't have the thick atmosphere like we have, and or they never had it, and they built into these rocks for that reason. They built them because of think about it. Again, if you lived in something rock, in fact, there's a person over here that has their house built into a hill. So all you see is the front of the house. You don't see anything else. And what I find cool about it is that, again, you see the windows, you'd swear it's just a regular house, and it is built into a hillside. So keeps it warm in the winter, cooler in the summer. Think about it. It's perfect. Radiation, how is it blocked? Perfectly. It's blocked because, it's blocked because sand will actually absorb radiation. It's a perfect insulator. Kenneth Leah, thank you very much for your support, as always. Chris, do you know of any way to match up aerial views from the orbiter to the specific ground photos from the rover? NASA doesn't seem to make it easy. No, they don't. There is a way to find it, but it's really difficult to try to find that exact same area. Now, they did have it. They had one, and I did a video on a while back. And what it was it showed the whole Mount Sharp and Gale Crater itself. And it showed like where the rover has already cruised along. It's only supposed to be 10 miles total trip, guys. It's supposed to be from where the rover's landed. It's about 1.5 miles to the very base of Mount Sharp. Then it's supposed to run along the base of it and then go up Mount Sharp. Now, I believe they're already there. They claim they're still trying to get through this area to go up there, but they're now saying that, and I think they've already been up there, but they're now saying that they're now going up Mount Sharp. And I don't think they're going up Mount Sharp. I think they're going through a more dense city. And like I said, just tell me if I'm not lying here. Check this out. This is funny. This is when you look at the actual Mount Sharp, just say Mount Sharp and then look at the base of it. Like I said, I use that analogy. It looks like cars parked in a car lot. All you see is these supposed buttes or hillsides all in a row, and they all have this face that's rounded. The very front is rounded, and they're all lined up in a row, and then there's some behind it, and some are larger, some are smaller. They look like either structures or some kind of vehicles or something that they've, basically blended to make it look like hills. It doesn't make sense. And when you see them, you go, man, and it looks so cartoonish. I don't know how many people have seen that or said that, where, hell, I've taken these things to a photo forensic guy over here. He works at the police station. And I said, I got a photo for you to look at. He said, all right. Takes it and puts it in his computer. First of all, he just looks at the thing and he goes, who drew this? And I kind of looked at him like perplexed. He's like, what's that look for? I said, dude, what are you talking about? He says, yeah, who drew this? I said, dude, that's from Mars. That's from NASA. No. And he laughed. He couldn't help but to laugh. He said, seriously, who drew this in the background? He said, you can tell this is so faked out. And it's not that it's fake. It's not that the stuff is not there. It's the stuff that's overlaid. You can see that it's drawn and you can see it's been manipulated to be covered over. It's as simple as that. And it's being digitally done, by the way. Like I said, from what I read, is a digital overlay. Now, this may be being done by the rover itself. And if it's got a computer like that, that it can actually do all that before it sends the information back to Earth, that's insane. Because if you think about that, it says, okay, its algorithm is designed to see something that looks like 90-degree angles, all kinds of objects that look intelligently made. And of course, they put all this information into it. And if it sees that, it automatically dresses it up or digitally overlays it. So if you were to receive it illegally, not supposed to, then you wouldn't be able to make heads or tails of it. But when they put it through their computer, it can reverse that and take that layer off, and then they know exactly what they're looking at. You know what I mean? That's the first thing I thought of. Oh, sorry about that, Elohim. Man, I'll tell you what, their sweet tea is sweet, literally. Marilyn Fraser, you said no south or north south Yorkshire, waiting for the wind and rain. I'll tell you what, you could have took what we just had. Oh man, I don't know about you guys, but if I know a couple of you guys right here in either Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, neighbors of mine, and I'll tell you what, I don't even remember what the sun looks like. Anybody know what it looks like? Because it's been so darn cloudy. I swear to God, it's at least been on and off rain for a month and a half. It's crazy. It's just been nuts. Zemo, you said I just bought a magnifier. That opened a whole new world for me. To me. Thanks, Chris. Oh yeah, you'd be surprised, man. Instead, because I see a lot of people, and I made the same mistake. I zoom way the hell in because I see something that's of interest. I zoom way in, and it becomes distorted. So I decided, I had this little magnifier. Let me just try that for the heck of it. Oh my god! So now I just bring up the picture and just use the magnifier. And if I have to move it and zoom in just a hair bit, I do that, and that's it. And my God, what a difference it makes, right? Oh yeah, alien antenna. You're absolutely right. NASA could have easily sent a craft to the moon with remote drones on it. Who knows? I mean, they also say, and I've read this too, that there's more of an atmosphere on the moon than they claim. Now, there's more moisture now because now they're saying there's more water on the moon, more than they thought, and everything else. Here we go. Same thing about Mars. There's no water there at all. Now suddenly, wait a minute, there's a little bit under the soil. Wait a minute, now there's a lake. Now wait a minute, there's some on the ground. I mean, here we go. Just goes on and on and on. Still got this itch in my throat. It's killing me here. Moon mission. You said two cheeseburger combo with a Coke. Sorry, we're closed. The window's closed. I hear that. Yes, fish fillet. 420 alien says, "Man, now you guys are making me hungry, man. I ate earlier. This is just left over." The real Jimmy Roberts. You're all delusional insaniacs. Yes. Uh, including you, my friend. We're all nuts here, man. That's what it is. We're all, what is the word? We're just pareidolia addicts. That's what it is. Now. That's what you are. Swamp gas. It was negative 23C here this morning. Oh my God, Andrew, that's cold. Even Celsius, that's pretty darn cold. Renee said I had a McDonald's parfait thinking it was some kind of fancy dessert, but it was just yogurt and fruit. But yeah, I mean, are they even still selling those things anymore? McDonald's also has delicious mango and strawberry smoothies. Sweet. Phase King Bailey says, how you brother? It's Phase B, your UK friend. Hey, what's going on, Phase King? What's happening? Soren Man, you said, hey Chris, why do you think the mass cam on Mars 2020 rover is only going to be 2 megapixels? Seems to me it's going to be bigger than that. This one here on this rover was 2 megapixels. Due to data return limits or not wanting to show us too much detail on purpose. Yes, pretty much in a nutshell. First of all, there's talk of quantum communications they've been using, and it's not what you think. And I've actually hinted toward this because I said I've been trying to put this other project together. Really, it's not a project; it's just basically a story that I've been reading and shrink it down into just facts. Where they have said that when the rover is on Mars and it has an Earthrise, soon as this, and of course it has its own clock, and when it knows that Earth is rising, it automatically will send the information directly to Earth, to the DSN, Deep Space Network, satellite dishes. But what they found was it wasn't like a radio wave like you would expect. Usually it takes around 15 to 20 minutes to get here. This was within seconds. Seconds. So they're talking about quantum communications. And if that's true, that BS is crap as far as the camera on the new one. In fact, they're saying it's going to be much better, it's supposed to be better HD. Of course, they said that about these. And yeah, we're going to see the difference between them. Something tells me we're not going to see too much difference. Maybe, now, if you think about a megapixel, it's only got to do with the size, right? So even if it was, it could be a 20 megapixel, we wouldn't know it. I mean, they could say anything they want. In fact, I think that when they were supposed to have a really big camera on it, it seemed to me it was supposed to be 10 or 20 megapixels. So it wouldn't matter because what they'll do is they'll just downsize it, make it worse resolution, put it through a computer, make it less resolution, doctor it up, or make it less resolution after the fact. And then that's it. There you go. Have at it, guys. And then you'll be stuck with the same garbage photos we see anyway, right? Which they are actually taking the new rover, by the way. They're transporting it as we speak. So, yeah. We're going to see... in fact, we got a couple of things we'll be getting to on that, too. As well as... you guys will love this if you haven't heard about it yet. Andrew Culver, he said, what are you drinking, Chris? Yeah, it's actually what's left of my sweet tea. It's actually pretty sweet. John Devon says, Jimmy is so funny. Love your channel, and thanks for teaching me 3D eyes. Yeah. Yeah, he's... get my foot there. Twist it off. Between Dave Gannett, which is basically has... I don't know if I'd say teach Jimmy, but really showed him... I think it's Mars X3D. Channel is Dave Gannett, is a good friend of mine. I met him down in Alabama at the Mars conference. Good guy, laid back, smart. I mean, what else can you ask for, right? And Jimmy's the same way. I've touched base with him. We actually video chatted and stuff like that. Got his head screwed on right. And that's the funny part. You'll see these, like a lot of these channels will bash other channels like ours and say, oh, these guys are a bunch of kooks and everything. But you couldn't believe how much more down to earth that we really are. It's kind of like me coughing all over this microphone. No, it's just like my buddy Billy from Billy Carson from Forbidden Knowledge. Down to earth guy, man. We like I said, every time I go down to Florida, we kick it there. We'll just hang out at the Ritz, just sit there on the beach chilling, solving world's mysteries and stuff. It's pretty funny. We have a great time, Need another one of these bad boys. MC Gamer, what's going on? Mario, you said, why all the cover up by NASA? What do you think? Just trying to get this lozenge to work here. It's not so much JPL or NASA as it is the DoD, the Department of Defense. They're the one that dictates what they can let out, what information, so on and so forth. A lot of people will say, what the hell would they need what would they need to CGI a photo for? And, that's bull. They would never do that. Really? Look it up. They have a CGI department. And like I said, at one time, they laid off 250 of them. 250 CGI artists. Really? If they laid them off, how big is that department? or was it the whole department? But still, 250. We're not talking 5 guys doing this. 250. And you can bet there's people doing the actual photos, and then you can believe that there's people proofreading them or proof viewing them, just to check this out. Absolutely. So they are doing it for what reason? If these are quote unquote raw photos, why are we getting this watered down, manipulated garbage? Mimi React says, can't wait for the drone pitches and what Chris will find. Yeah, I hope they hold true to that. Because I'm just wondering, and I've said this before, I wonder if the damn thing would just crash. Oops, we thought it would make it, but it didn't. FUCK Society, a frog just jumped into our living room. Well, looks like you got a new friend. Like I said, I don't know. I'm hoping the helicopter does work. Guys, just look that thing up. It's crazy. If I had it in front of me right now, the damn blades would be like this big. The thing is huge. It's not in some little tiny little toy. It's good size. And I'm hoping they don't. Oh well, we thought it was going to work well, and it slammed into a rock. And oh well, come on. Rolando, what's going on, man? Hello from the Azores. What's going on? Jimmy says, yes, Dave Gannett taught me the process of 3D work. Yeah, I mean, I know he was into this, Jimmy, since I was down there, not longer than that, when I met him in Alabama. I swear to God, this throat's killing me, especially when you're agitated by talking, which sucks. I didn't see that other comment you left, too. I'll have to look it up, Jimmy. You said, Chris, the Gigapan imagery is using the PDS data from the right mass cam. Have you seen the left mass cam? I'll check it out. I'll look into it for you. Holger Eckert, what's going on? Liked and shared. Thank you very much. Stephen Porter, you said, whatever happened to the Mars One mission and all the people who volunteered to live on Mars? Yeah, I heard last time that it was scrapped. Now, whether it was or not, I don't know. But these people are supposed to be highly qualified, whatever it was that they were good at. One was a scientist, one was this, one was that. So I'm sure it's not completely scrapped, but it probably just been put on hold, right? MZ Gaming said, spoke to Dave Chris, trying to get him on the Hangout, but says he's busy on Fridays. But we'll try. Yeah, he's a good guy. Like I said, he's laid back and everything. We had a bunch of laughs. In fact, we went to a restaurant that's right next to the hotel we were at. We had a great time. In fact, the waitresses had us sign the actual papers and stuff like that. They hung them on the walls and everything else, so it was pretty funny. Yeah, Kenneth. Yeah, you said Dave Gannett does a great job. Very easy on the eyes. And when you listen to him, he's like real laid back, kind of chill and everything else, and presents his stuff beautifully. And I'm just going to shoot myself and get this throat over with. Dale Rogers, hello from Kent, Ohio. What's going on? TC says I'm a nerd for Mars and everything extraterrestrial. Oh no, my husband said to me, "Why don't you just move in with Chris?" He's a big joker, but maybe he's a little jealous. He could be. Um, well, I've had a lot of people say stuff like that, and what's funny about it, and I don't blame a lot of people for thinking that. The thing is, when they first jump on the channel, they go, they might say, "Oh, this guy's insane," or you might say, "Whatever, whatever." But unless they follow the channel and done the research, then they'll be thinking that way. And I don't blame them in a sense because they're basically ignorant. Because in other words, they haven't been following along. I've done that where I went on channels like, what the hell is this guy even talking about? But then when I start and I listen more and more to the videos, and I understand what they're doing and how they're going about it, made all the sense in the world. Well, we do have extra room down here, by the way, if you need it. Let me watch it. What's going on? You said, hi, Chris and all. Maybe. Yeah, we'll fly into a Martian home and crash. You know what? It wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, they'll have it take off. Working well, everything. Well, made a miscalculation, hit a boulder, and that'll be the end of it, right? That'll be all done. Stop advertising McDonald's. I know what's up. Yeah, I just heard about that, Rolando. Yeah, I was just actually it was about 3 or 4 days ago. Didn't they talk about that or that? Maybe beginning of the week. You said, Chris, what are your thoughts on the Voyager 2 working again? Good Lord. They talked about that, and I'm saying, wow, that's pretty interesting. Now, I don't know if it's just a communication problem at first, meaning it still had power, but it wasn't communicating, and somehow they got it to wake up and start talking back. I didn't really look into a whole lot, so I really can't tell you, right? What's going on, Pete's Vlogs? He said, hey, I'm late. Sorry, guys. Well, you're fine, Pete. Glad to have you in there, man. Metalhead, would you say, and then there's don't tell me, I hate it when it does this crap. Chris, do you think the pics we get from 2020 rover will be better? Maybe better for them. I'm not so sure it'll be better for us because, like I said, I think they'll continue to manipulate. We'll know from the very first photo they give us whether it's trash or not. I'll be surprised if they come out pristine. I will. I'll be like totally shocked. Because even if they show a really good fine photo, that just means that they figured out a better way to manipulate them better. That's all. Dale Rogers, what's going on? He said, do you think that the moon has activity? Many people have seen it. Activity coming out of the craters and stuff like that. Not sure if all of them are on the up and up, if you know what I mean. But some of them look so realistic, it's not even funny. I mean, they're not even like zooming in like really big time. In other words, they're backed out enough to where you can see the crater from a long distance and see something literally fly out of it. One of them I seen recently was actually passing the crater. So I think what it was is between Earth and the moon. So it was either a satellite or something else. So I don't know. Mr. CBXO, thanks for the dedication to this channel. Well, thank you for watching. Metalhead says there are people living on Mars. Man, my throat's killing me. Darren Bocci, I guess it is. Hey, bud, Darren from BC. Awesome work. Keep up the good work. Cheers. Well, I appreciate it, Darren. And thanks for watching there, right? And the moon. Yeah, you're right about that, Metalhead. Absolutely. Chris, you know why I need the left images? Of course, we are destroying ridiculous things that are not as they seem. But we also confirm the discovery so much through stereoscopics. Oh, absolutely, Jimmy. Yeah. Like I said, now you're talking about the one I just did, or you're talking about the prior one? Because you said you need the other side there, the other photos. Let me see something. Yeah, I'll try to find it. Which one are you looking for, to be specific? Yeah, Kenny. I mean, that's all I can say, right? He said, "Yeah, better for them." Well, my God, but yeah, I mean, the if it's going to be better, it's going to be better for them. But I told what I heard, it was supposed to be like a 10 or 20 megapixel. That's huge compared to 2, right? And they're all supposed to be HD. So megapixel, all it is just size, right? So if they can get a much larger size, all right. Now, like the question arose earlier, is it going to take much longer because of slow data rate, or do they have a quantum communications which is instantaneous? The latter is the true, from what I read. Yeah, Jerry, you're right about that. Yeah, I usually try to do that. Hi, Chris. You said try a spoonful of honey for that cough. Yeah, a little hard to do that now. Actually, that's what these are. They're like little. They're holes, but they got honey on them. Well, in them, and on them. Well, hate it when that happens. Mr. Gosman, thank you for your support as always. Really good video yesterday. Not seen today's yet. Yeah, check that one out. You'll like that one too. Yeah, I think I seen that earlier too, Andrew. He said quantum communications is instant. Yeah, it's literally boom, seconds. Beach Vlogs, thank you, sir, for your support. As always. Interesting video, Chris. Keep them coming. Yeah, I was trying to get them out. Like I said, you could see by this cold, and I knew it was going to get worse while I was talking because you got the itch and it just makes it 10 times worse. So my apologies, guys. All right, Jimmy, I got you. You said, Chris, I'll be talking about the video and providing a link back this weekend. Okay, that works. So, guys, check this out. I don't know if you guys have heard of this or seen this, because some channels, I've seen this when it first came out, and this is on 2 days ago. It said scientists detect an unexplainable radio signal from outer space that repeats every 16 days. Think about that. Okay, so, and these are the FRBs, the fast radio bursts, right? So, now, this is what they say, story highlights. The burst originated from a galaxy 500 million light years away. It's probably, this is the second one, this is good. It's probably not aliens. MIT said it in a statement. Of course, they know that, right? One of the greatest mysteries in astronomy is the origin of such burst. For the first time, scientists have detected a radio signal from outer space that repeats at regular intervals. The series of fast radio bursts, short-lived pulses of radio waves that come from across the universe, were detected once, get this, was detected about once an hour for 4 days and then stopped, only to start up again 12 days later. Get that. Let me see. What does it say here? The cycle repeated every 16.35 days for more than a year, according to a new paper about the research. Now, these are peer-reviewed, so you understand what they're doing. So these guys are all over this stuff like a bad rash. All right, now think about this a minute. How are they finding a radio burst or these frequencies, these radio waves? They have to be receiving it. So if you're like at SETI, search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and you got these deep space networks that are receiving multiple, like thousands of frequencies all at once, you have to be listening to be able to hear that radio burst, right? So they know the frequency. This thing is actually scanning like thousands of frequencies at a time. All of a sudden, boom, it triggers one. They know what frequency it's on. Okay. Now, knowing that they can receive this, now I don't know how they're recording it, whether it's regular data, it's audio, I don't know. But the thing is, once they know the frequency, now they're going to try to pull this thing apart. You know that for a fact they're going to do that, right? If they haven't already done that. The discovery of the 16.35 day periodicity is rather in a repeating FRB source is an important clue to the nature of this object. This scientist said in the paper. Now, of course, they always get this way of, of describing this, and of course, I'm not saying they're wrong because it actually is scientifically correct the way they describe this. Let's see. The repeating pattern reports Science X network suggests the source could be a celestial body of some kind orbiting around a star or another body, In such a scenario, the signals would cease. Then they obstructed. It says when they are obstructed by the other body. So it makes sense, right? It goes in front of it. But that still doesn't explain how the celestial body could be sending out such signals on a regular basis, said Science X said, rather. Another possibility is that the stellar winds might be alternately boosting or blocking signals from the body behind them. Or it could be that the source is a celestial body that is rotating. Okay, celestial body that is rotating. So is there something on that particular celestial body that's transmitting these bursts? Think about it. Imagine if it's some kind of radio beacon as opposed to like a lighthouse. Like it sends a beam of light. Instead, it sends radio signals all the way around the galaxy. That'd be pretty funky. Alien signals? With a question mark. More bizarre fast radio bursts detected from outer space. It's not likely to be aliens, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology said in a statement, because the signals are a sign of energetic events that are on the extreme scale of the cosmos. Even the highly intelligent species would be very unlikely to produce energies like this. Of course, they know that, right? And there is no detectable pattern so far that would suggest it is sentient hand at play, MIT said. What? I mean, that even sounds bullshit. Come on. There's no way they can produce energies like that. And you know that how? What, are you kidding me? How many people think that's BS? No, there's no way. Just because we're not capable of doing that doesn't mean that there's no other civilization could not do that. Fast radio bursts last only a few milliseconds, which make it difficult to accurately determine where they have come from. One of the greatest mysteries in astronomy right now is the origin of short, dramatic bursts of radio light seen across the universe. I like this. It says, although they last, let me go ahead and make this a little bigger. Damn monitor's way up there. Although they only last for thousands of a second, There are now hundreds of these records of these enigmatic sources, as the Institute said. Since 2007, according to MIT, most of the radio bursts are one-offs, but a small number are repeaters, which occur in the same place. It's communication. I mean, and it says right there, the fast radio burst that repeats every 16 days was detected by the Canadian Hydrogen Intensity Mapping Experiment, a radio telescope designed and built by several groups of the Canadian scientists to study space phenomena. So, and of course, it's showing the CHIME telescope in British Columbia, which will help detect future fast radio bursts. Listen, when something has, it's repetitive and it's like it's certain days, every 16 days. So it's like 14 and, or what was it, 13 and 14 or 12, whatever it was. And then it repeats itself after it comes up to like 16 days, whatever it is. Come on. You know, it's like clockwork. It's like a father time clock. It's like, what are you kidding me? But no, it couldn't be aliens. Them pesky aliens, they're not smart enough to build that kind of stuff. What's wrong with you? I love it. You gotta love it. Yeah, I see you going back and forth there, Jimmy, with Metalhead there. $321 cat box. The birth is the message. Free beer tomorrow, and FC did not kill himself. Oh my God. Omoa was only the beginning. Yeah, I think these. Now, of course, it's speculation, but how do we know that wasn't a probe and they just shut all the power down to it and just let it kind of let the gravitational, let the gravity like pull this thing through our solar system and back out? How do we know it wasn't just something to actually, just inspect the solar system without being detected anything life on it or anything? I just go right through the solar system and back out it went, right? Now, I'm not saying it can't be a rock. Of course, it could very well be. In fact, it's probably 99% chance it's just a simple rock. But they make it. You notice if it sounds anything like it could be like something intelligent. It's not that. It's swamp gas or a freaking balloon. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I mean, like Jimmy was telling you, Metalhead, the rover actually has two transmissions, and I don't mean like a transmission gearbox. I mean it has UHF radio, and it also has X-band transmission. It's got two radios on it. And what these two guys discovered, and I told you guys about this already, when they had a problem with the Spirit rover, they found out that it had an extra radio built onto it, and they were trying to figure out what the hell this thing's for. Nobody was told about it. I'm still baffled about that because what I read was that there was two radios on it to begin with. There's a VHF, and then there was the X-band. Now, the UHF will transmit. It's round. You'll see it. It's got a can. It looks like a kind of like a plastic or paper can, shiny gray, and it's on the rover. That's the omnidirectional antenna. And what that's for is because you've got your satellites, they're probably, they're orbiting around Mars. And of course, it's going to come into view and then back out of the view for the rover as far as transmission-wise, getting radio waves. So that's why it's omnidirectional. So it can actually update data or download data while this thing's traveling so it can receive it. Now, the X-band looks like a freaking stop sign. It's a high gain antenna. It's flat. It's about, it's probably about that fat. And it's good size, You'll see that on the rover as well. And that one transmits directly to Earth, to the DSN, the Deep Space Network. And these are comprised of like 100-foot satellite dishes. Now, from what I read on that article, it would go into this network and 3 computers were getting this information. Now, it's supposed to be stored on a hard drive in the actual that network itself. It's supposed to be put on hard drives, but they were finding that they were getting erased. But they're going to these 3 computers, and then after those that they've seen them, then they would disappear off them computers. They couldn't figure out why. Well, like I said, what they did was they had the guy that worked for NASA he was a programmer. So what he would do is he actually made this and I explained this before, as a software that would literally sit in the data stream, and it's like watching cars go by on a highway. But picture yourself being invisible on the side of that highway. Well, what it did was it would analyze the information without being detected, and they found out numerous things. And the numerous things they found out was, 1, where the information was going; 2, that the original photos would be covered up digitally. So they have a digital mask over these photos. That's a fact. Secondly, they said they were trying to figure out how the hell this information was getting here so quick. So they were thinking quantum communications, and not minutes, but seconds. The second Earthrise was to Mars, this damn thing was transmitting like that. Quick, quick, quick. Okay. Right off the bat, they thought quantum communications. So then they found out that the DOD was involved. They said, why is the DOD involved with NASA? Well, because they're the puppeteer. They tell them and dictate what they need and what they can't see, or what they can show the public and whatever else. So it all comes together. What I've been saying, and I said this a long time ago, because they claimed that the X-band was strictly used for when the rover stops and gets normal commands, and it has to just sit there and wait for data or information from Earth. What it will do is it will radio back and say, it'll just ping back and say, we're doing fine, we're online, we're operational. That's all it would do, is just ping. And they said when you got the sun here, Earth, and you got Mars, when it was on the opposite side of Mars, of the sun, it would ping. I'm going, wait a minute, what kind of radio wave makes it through the sun? So that's why I doubted that information right off the bat. I said, I get a feeling, and I said this a long time ago in one of my videos, I have a feeling that they're getting, keep in mind, there's 17 cameras on that rover. Now, most of them are navigational, so on and so forth, right? You got the front, rear, and all this other stuff. You got side and everything else. So this thing's it's for autonomous operation. So it can actually see, navigate, stop, do what it's got to do. Okay. But I think they're also, you've got 2 halves of this. You got the actual NASA people working, and you got the public seeing everything that they do. Then you got the elite part of it, where only they see certain things. And I believe that they're watching real-time video, again, quantum communications, or they're seeing real-time snapshots, so on and so forth. And I think that's exactly what they're doing. And I've said that a long time ago, long before this article was written. So it just proves what I've been saying all along. And I've been saying there's an overlay over this photos for the longest time. And bam, there you are. MC Gamey said, I would say it's coming from Orion's belt. You know what? It's hard to tell. They say that these FRBs are coming from all directions. Now, the guy from SETI was saying, oh, well, it's coming from way over there. And then, of course, it's coming from way over there. So there's no real place that it's coming from. Doesn't need to. If it's communications back and forth, why would you think it's going to come from one area? I think it's communications. MG Toe, good to see you in there, man. Said, thumbs up, everyone. Thumbs up. What do we got? 119 watching, 79 thumbs up. Come on, guys, smash it. Hammer time. Why die here behind the mic? Damn. I was afraid of this, but hey, it is what it is, right? Yeah, it's a good way of putting it, Jimmy. You said you're telling Metalhead industrial electronics, automated manufacturing. And like I said, I think that the rover itself has its own algorithm. Once it takes a photo, detects anything of any value, meaning like they could put in there like certain shapes, like I said, rectangular, sharp corners, 90-degree angles. It automatically puts like a mask over these things. And when it transmits to this, to the DSN, when it transmits back to it, it automatically, it's already encrypted kind of thing. So unless you have the decryption software, you can't take the upper layer off. What they do is they leave that on, and then of course they do their magic. The CGI department, they go to town on this thing, and of course they rearrange everything in it, and we get the crap, right? So that's pretty much what it says. Oh, how it goes, right? Jimmy, pretty sure nerd factor just went up by 3 or 4 factors for everybody. Elaine Walls, what's going on? Good to see you in there. HDOS 1AV, DOD chartered NASA. Well, like I said, I mean, they're pulling the strings with NASA. They tell them what's up and what to do and what they can't reveal. In the meantime, the DOD's analyzing these photos and everything else. And if it's technology up there, it makes perfect sense why the DOD's involved. We need that technology. The same thing they got off anything off the moon. They grabbed it off there. Like I said, if any one of us were an astronaut and your boss said to you, "Hey, listen, we have a chance to go up on the moon, and we want to analyze rocks. Anybody up for it? Any show of hands? Everybody's gonna. No, I'm good. I got a wife and kids at home. But wait a minute, there's some extraterrestrial UFOs up on there, um, and they've been there for millennia. I'm in. Think about it, guys. Come on. And these guys were signing their life away, saying, "Well, we could die on this mission at any given time." So, but they went. They're not going to go up there for simple rocks, guys. It's not going to happen. And even if they did, let's bring a couple some gravel home with some dust or whatever else, and we'll analyze it when we get here. Rocks? What the hell for? You know what I mean? When you could bring back something that's you can literally touch in your hands, a technology or a piece of steel or whatever, you're going to bring that back. You're not going to have much of a payload back in the day, so they're only going to bring back so much. And you see the size of the little briefcase, right? It was very, very small. Bring back some technology, sift through it. What's the best part? Throw it in there. Hope for the best. And how many missions were there? Think about it. Yeah, we went up there time and time again to look for rocks. Okay. Maybe there's on the PR side of it, the bullshit side for the public, but for the real deal, no. It's a grass. Forgive me if I told this story. If you told the story, I'm sorry. If at all, Chris, have you ever seen a UFO or anything like that? I have. I actually saw one back in '86. A buddy of mine was sitting on his porch, and it was a nice warm night. I'm looking over at the tower that we usually that we'd hang out on. It was in this place called Jenks Park, and it had a huge tower. Now, this tower has significance to it because way back in the day when they had slavery up there in Rhode Island, up in that area in North New England, they had when you went into this tower, went down on the ground, and it was like an old railroad coal, like the old coal carts. And they would literally drag these people through the tunnels. They'd bring them through the tunnels and bring them up through there. At the time, they were hiding them out, and so this tower goes way back. And at the time, we were seeing these weird red and blue lights. I said, "Is that like a reflection of some police car or something like that? Is it cloudy?" And I was thinking that they're trying to think of any real reason why this we could see these lights. And I said, and he's going, "No, man, I see that shit too." And I said, so we went up there the next day, and of course, it sounds really weird and cliche. It's like on the ground, it had like this tripod kind of thing, like depressed into the grass on the top of this tower. We said, "Is this stuff real?" Now again, we're going back to the '80s, but yet we still can't figure out what it was. But did see it. Now what it was, couldn't tell you. UFO, unidentified. So yeah. Marcus Peters, he said, good morning, Chris. Greetings from South Africa. What's going on, Marcus? How's the temperatures down there? Is it comfortable down there? Sure, it's got to be better than here, that's for sure. Let's see, what are we at? 25 degrees Fahrenheit with a wind of 3 to 6 miles an hour. Wind chill is 21 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, yeah. Smoking hot here. But then, was it Monday and Tuesday? It's supposed to be like 60, 70 degrees. Oh, yeah. Mother Nature's lost it. But there's no global warming, by the way. Natural or otherwise. That's a craft. She said, thanks for the reply, Chris, and thank you for all you do. Love your stories. Your experience sounds amazing with the ground indentations and everything. Well, I mean, you got to be curious about what it was, right? And to be truthful, I didn't expect to see anything when we went up there. I said, there's probably somebody playing games or something with lights. I remember we used to... I used to tinker around with electronics years ago. I'll show you guys the bench I had with all the radio equipment, radio gear that I had. Nothing but it looks like a Radio Shack, literally, like I was selling stuff. But I used to tinker with stuff, and what I would do, and you guys could do it with these little cheap walkie-talkies. You run a jumper or a little small wire from the speaker wire to the antenna. So when you turned it on, it was like a real high pitch, and then turn it all the way up, the volume all the way up, and go to a lower tone. And what I used that for was every time you were up there, there's bats that would fly around up there, which just jam their radar. So it was funny. Every time I said, no, don't bother clapping your hands to scare them away. Just turn this on. And you see like I'm flying around and come close to your head. Turn this on, you see them just all disperse. It was pretty funny. We used to have a great time. But I went up there just not expecting anything, to be truthful with you. Rick Rocker Graham, what's going on? He said, I saw a UFO in Monticello, New York in 1985. I got out of my car as the three red light triangle craft floated by above the tree line heading south and made no noise and blocked out the stars behind it. Well, you're not the first one to tell that story. I've heard that many a times. We weren't close enough to that tower to actually hear whether it was or not. So I couldn't tell you yay or nay whether it made any sound, but yeah. Renee, you fell asleep. What? I like they said, I fell asleep in the first hour. Not good. That happens. Mimi Rex says, my boyfriend told me he saw a UFO, or best friend. I'm not sure if that's boyfriend or best friend. Told me he saw a UFO flying over Black Forest. Yeah, I mean, you see these things all over the world. And now that people are seeing, well, I should say now that they got cameras, everybody just, rips out a phone nowadays. They got all kinds of cameras and everything else. Everybody's seeing this stuff. So it's just crazy. And so it makes you wonder, are we starting to see more and more an influx of UFOs, or is it just because there's so many cameras out there now? Could have been going on for thousands of years, which it has, as far as UFOs visiting here. So it does not surprise me at all. '56 here in North Florida. Where you at? In the Panhandle? Panama City, Pensacola? I'm not even sure how to pronounce your name or the words HTOS, 1AV. But 56, huh? You're running around with shorts on right now. Actually, you can get down to about 35, 40. I can still walk around in shorts. Doesn't bother me. I'm from New England, so it doesn't bother me. Although I am starting to hate it now because I'm getting kind of used to the warmer temperatures down here. Sweet Nellie's first time, he said, well, Sweet Nellie says, first time I was 5, my parents and I saw a large orb in the sky from our car while driving in LA mountains. So we pulled over to see better. When I looked over at the highway, all the cars had on. Of course, I couldn't finish it because it only allows you so many letters in there. ABS 0303, what's going on? Good to see you in there, man. Let me jump all the way down to the bottom here. Peter Ferrero, I'm sorry. Up to 12 degrees in Buffalo, New York. My dad lives right close to. In fact, he was living in Buffalo. Man, I'll tell you what. You get into, when you start getting that snow machine turns on up there and from the lakes. Oh man, look out! Nice day one day, pretty cold. Next day, you wake up, you got 4 feet of snow. How the hell did that happen? Cloudy with a chance of UFOs. What's going on, man? Said evening, Chris. Hope everything is doing well. What are you talking about? Signals from space or something else? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we're talking about the FRBs, the fast radio burst, and all kinds of stuff. Everything from the new rover going up on Mars, the 2020 rover they call it, but it won't be up there until 2021. I guess they feel it just sounded better. We're calling it the 2020 rover, right? But yeah. So we're pretty much talking anything. You got any, topics? We'll talk about that too. 321 Catbox, you said, ever mess with slow scan? No, but a buddy of mine has, and that's pretty wild because I got a scanner here. I got it locked right on the ISS. And if I had the actual receiver to do it, because this is just a simple, scanner. It's just an older one too. It's a little BCT, BCT 15, which is basically a little trunk. It's a trunk tracker. It's nothing special. But the slow scan is nice because you can hear do, and it just prints out, and you just see the information comes, the data comes in, and it'd be like usually stamps from the Apollo missions or just other iconic figures and stuff like that. Pretty wild. My buddy he's heavily into it. He's a ham operator anyway, but pretty interesting, right? Elaine Walls, thank you very much for your support, as always. Hope you get to feeling better soon. You and me both. I actually feel okay. It's my throat. And I kind of knew that was going to happen, so it was my fault. I didn't want to cancel on you guys because I love sharing the evening with you guys. So I was just like, man, do I do this? I wasn't bad in the beginning. Then it just started slowly getting worse. I was like, oh, well, what are you going to do, Oh, no, arts and crafts. You're right. No, I wasn't thinking that at all. You said, just so you know, I didn't mean to imply that your experiences weren't paranormal by saying stories. No, not at all. Zulu Vivon, you said, what did you take on UFOs? Well, you heard that part. Do you think they are real? Absolutely. You think they are UFO bases on Earth? Now, we had talked about that before. And just recently, and I know you guys heard this in the news, just to give you an idea how just far beyond we really are, we just don't have a clue about even Earth yet. What did they find? Just six species of fish that can walk on their fins. 6 more species. We didn't know that. Was that Antarctica, by the way, or was that? I forgot where that was at, but they literally can walk on the dorsal fins and stuff like that. I think it is. But funny enough, they can walk. Now they said that a long time ago. I believe it was in prehistoric times that they could do that. But now they're finding them now. Oh wow, 6 more new species. So if we didn't know that, how do we know that there ain't UFOs deep under these oceans, going to the Marianas Trench? Like I said, deepest part of the Earth, and these things could just go down there with ease and just go up in some kind of cavern, and it's completely wide open, complete city under there. How would you know? How many people go under there? It's not like you're driving a taxi cab and just stop anywhere you want to go, right? So, how do we even know? Well, funny enough, when they did that, they had one of those deep diving bells and went down there. They finally hit the bottom of the Marianas Trench, and you could see fish and everything swimming around. Like, well, how the hell is this possible with the pressures down there? Think about it. So, if you live down there as an alien or some kind of other being, literally go under there, you never know. People would never know it. So, I believe there are, to be truthful. Can I prove that? No. Let me see. I hate when this thing jumps up. TC. I'm going to call you TC. I said, you said, I love these hangouts. I love Mars anomalies and beyond. Love your wisdom, Chris. You're a thinker who takes a close look at everything. Yes, I'm not afraid my husband knows about us, but it's okay. He's cool about it. Well, I mean, like I said before, it's cool to have a place to go where you got like-minded people, right? Some people have told me before, I said, man, I can't talk to anybody about this kind of stuff. I can't, you know, women and men alike. I mean, a lot of people say, listen, you know, it's cool to be able to comment about this stuff, raise questions, and I look at it this way. It's like, you know, a lot of times if one person can't answer it, somebody else will kick in and answer it. That's what I love about this community. Everybody just has their own, they're not dumbbells, right? They're all just in there saying, man, I'm knowledgeable about this particular thing too. So, and then sometimes I'll just go, let them have at it. They seem like they're answering it well, let them go. Because that's what it's all about. It's not about me. The focus is all on me. It's about the community. And that's what, you know, not all channels are like that. They're just like, listen, I say what goes and that's it kind of thing. No. We don't do that. We actually have people that think and love to just chat it up here. That's what it's all about, really. Beach Vlogger says, awesome, Chris. Thank you. You're very welcome. I don't know why that's on for. That's what's helpful review. Because you were putting, Phil, you were actually talking to ads, but you said, did you see my latest video, my latest moon video, rather, of Aristarchus crater pulsating? Coco Electric says, hi, Chris. Can I mention my sky watching site on your chat, please? Absolutely. You got a link to it? Drop it. Listen, I look at it this way. I don't have a problem with sharing links with other people's channels, as long as they're good, reputable channels. And stuff like that, or sites. It expands people's minds and gets them thinking, gets more information. And more information, the better we are, right? And then it's up to the people to say, well, I think it's BS or it's not. Alien Tenno says, wow, is that my voice? Anyway, alien bases deep in our oceans. Yeah. I mean, how would we know? Now, I'm not saying that there is because I can't prove it. But how do we know that there isn't? We can't even go to the deepest ocean. And when we do, we almost implode in ourselves. So, I mean, it was funny when I heard that the bell, you can literally hear it creak and crunch. It's like, man, if somebody had just went on the side of that thing, it probably would have imploded. Yeah, I saw that, Abs. Yeah, it said you said Tic Tac UFO seen by American military hovering over submerged ocean structure. Yeah, did you see that? And it said it was something white underneath the ocean. It was like just below the surface. Kind of weird, right? Kirley, you said, how's your day going? Going good. How's yours going? Cosmic, you said Earth is an experiment. The masses is under illusion. We abuse wisdom in our past for power. Life has been around for millions of years. The veil is so thick the sheep can't comprehend. Well, I see your comment there, Zulu. You don't have to post it 100 times. I do see it. I will get to it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's almost like people, like you said, they're so programmed. They just don't care. They just go about their business, don't even give a crap. And, I find that a little odd because for me, I want to know what, I want this information. I want to know what intrigues me. You know what I mean? I don't want to just, go home and watch TV again and see what's on the tube. And, I don't want to do that. I got better things to do. I want to enlighten myself. I want to just gather in information. That's what it's all about for me. Of course, I've always been a science nerd anyway, but that's beside the point. How many of you guys have been in school and basically the nerd? And it's not because you were just a nerdy guy, you stuck out, but when you talk to other people, they're kind of looking at you like, oh, okay. And I don't mean like in a real bad way, but because you were just thought differently. You thought outside the box as opposed to what they do. And theirs was consistent about, I'm going to my friend's house, I'm doing this, which I did too. Going to my girlfriend's house, whatever, whatever. But then you always thought, hey, I wonder what's up with that. Now, I've always been intrigued with, like I said, the sci-fi shows back in the day, Star Trek, Space 1999, Battlestar Galactica, all of them, and Lost in Space. And, I always thought, like I started off with my first shortwave radio, and I put my own long wire up. My mom almost killed me because we lived on the third floor, and I had this thing outside my window going to this telephone pole. It was on the other side of the yard, and it was probably 100 feet long. And but there was actually a clothesline there, so I actually just went like this and had the wire follow it all the way out there. Went out to the pole and hung it up there. And I was getting like broadcast. I was hoping to get some kind of alien kind of thing or some kind of weird, just receive some crazy stuff. And there's some good stuff out there. And I always started. And hell, I was 8, 9 years old, tinkering with that stuff. So yeah. Lane Wentworth, you said, I think a lot of people are programmed not to even register this stuff. Like you could tell them something about Mars, artifacts, etc., and it's like they don't even hear it. Like they can't process it. Yeah, exactly. They don't. They just don't care. They just, again, they're like everybody else. It's a general mass kind of thing where get up in the morning, shit, shower, and shave, do whatever you got to do, eat breakfast, run out the door, go to work, put a full day in, punch out, come home, eat dinner, watch your little sitcoms, go to bed, repeat the next day. And that's what the government's hoping that you'll do. Just be smart enough to, uh, you know, just be smart enough to just run the machines or do your office work, and that's it. Don't ask questions. Rick Rocker Graham, you said, hey, Chris, Renee has a good point. Why not advertise hats, T-shirts, etc.? Mars anomalies exposed. Well, I do have my some merch actually coming out. Like I said, I was hoping to have. Once I set it up, I actually had ordered a hoodie and a shirt for myself. Should have been in today, but it probably won't be until tomorrow. Of course not. I was hoping to have it before the actual the Hangout, but that's fine because I'll get it at some point. And and I'll show you guys it and everything else. Pretty cool stuff. And it basically says Mars anomalies and beyond, which is cool. And you can get them in all different colors, all this other stuff. Everything from phone cases to hell, I think there's even pillows. So I'm like, what? But it's like an automatic. Once you put this up there and upload it, it'll put on like a whole bunch of stuff. So pretty cool. Sweet Nelly, he said, this is life for me. He answers me. Absolutely. I try not to miss everybody. If I can get to it, I try to do it. And the people that, they feel I missed them, then they just, resend another message or whatever. Robert S. says, hey guys, happy Valentine's Day to all the lovers out there. Absolutely. Happy Valentine's to all the ladies out there. Rolando Alves, you said they call me crazy when I talk about this stuff. Yeah, because you know what? They're not remotely interested. So when they go, oh, it's one of those guys, and I just find that really weird that people think that way because, you know, it kind of puzzles you more than anything because you're like, why don't these people want to know this stuff? But it's like they're not programmed to even question it. Really weird. Let me see. Okay. Mind aware. That's a good question. Do you think too much information that we have access to nowadays can overload us to the point of being dumb? Well, and like they say, these smartphones are making people stupid because people are they're literally they're depending on the device to actually do the thinking for them nowadays, and that's the problem. That's what's dumbing people down. And I don't think it would make you dumb if you're just looking for the right stuff because the internet's really good, but it can be used for trash and it can be used for good. So yeah, um, it's just like the internet though. It's no different, right? I mean, whatever you get on it, it's like just try not to take in too much trash. What you do is if you consider yourself a critical thinking person, then you should be able to tell the difference between like really way out there to like total BS to that's feasible. So you just got to just differentiate the two, and just figure out what's what. And if you're not sure of it, then you just get more and more information about people talking about that same subject and go from there, right? A Animation says, "Can I get a shout out?" Sure, why not? Ian Thomas says, "Hi Chris, love the channel. Have you picked up the Oh, I think you asked me this earlier, didn't you? I said, have you picked up the pale figure peering out from the right side of the rock on the left of the latest Gigapan you posted? What do you think? I went over there and looked at it briefly. I'm going to need to go back and look at it again because I think you said that on the actual comment on there. And so I really didn't really have a good look at it, to be truthful with you, right? But I will have a look at it. ABS, you taking off? Have yourself a good one there, right? And have a good weekend. Lane Wentworth, NASA, never a straight answer. Well, like I said, I respect NASA for the new technologies, wanting to be spacefaring, a list of things, right? I love everything about it, but it's the information they're withholding from the public. It's where they draw the line. Also, do you think Bob Lazar is disinformation? No, not in the least bit. Look him up. He had the trying to remember if he called it. I forgot the name of the video, but way before he became popular with all that, he had the hydrogen car. It was a Corvette that he had put together. That's 85, 87. Had his own solar panels, everything else, powering this hydrogen maker, and he would fuel his car with it. So the guy's he's an engineer and working in these like Area 51 and all of these areas. Yeah, he's no dumbbell. I believe everything he says is the truth. Well, I mean, maybe he might have embellished a little bit, but excuse me, stuff is killing me. But I think that regardless, the he's definitely an engineer. There's no doubt about that. And the fact that they tried to basically make him disappear, where I don't know if you guys have seen the interview, but they literally got rid of his name. They said he never worked there. What was it too? And they tried to mess with it. I think it's Social Security, everything. Like he didn't even exist. They just wanted to wipe him off the face of the earth. It's like, who? Bob who? Josh D, you said, Chris, I was thinking maybe the moon, like Earth, have some places are like our ghost towns were occupied once, but moved to more populated areas and abandoned some places and still sit around wondering. Well, true. I mean, I've said this before. When I learned that, and it didn't even occur to me because I never thought of it in that way. When I read that article, when they said our solar system was in a different part of the galaxy 65 million years ago when the dinosaurs were around, first thing I thought of was like, damn, well, how do we know where the hell we were at? If we were on the other side of the galaxy at the time, then how do we know other civilizations or these other people didn't jump onto our solar system, our planets in our solar system, and build structures and everything else, and then hopped off of it at some point, X amount of years ago? How do we know? And there you go. So these might be like from, civilizations long past, and we're just discovering them now in our own solar system. Never mind outside. Pretty much, Alien Tenu. Lazar got ghosted. Um, Zulu, you said, do you think that the moon and the Mars have old abandoned structures? If so, why do you think that? Yes, and by looking at the photos we see, not only structures but crafts, like on the moon. Stuff looks like it's been decimated. Some things not so much. Looks like crafts have actually crashed on there, or just they're just dilapidated, just laying there like they've been there for millions of years. Um, who knows? Somebody had one of you guys had come up with an idea. You said, "How do we know the moon wasn't a satellite of Mars at one time, our moon, and somehow it was moved over here?" Because they said that it might have been moved from a different area. Now, a lot of the ancient civilizations talked about a time before our moon was here. So if that's true, where did it come from? And if it's supposed to be as old as Earth, then where did it come from? If there was a time without it. So, I mean, who the hell knows? It's kind of a weird theory or, thought that, maybe our moon was part of, Mars at one point and now it's ours. Some people say it's like hollowed out, some kind of spacecraft. Now, again, pure speculation, but if it is, and they use that as a taxi to get here, so everybody piled on there and moved over here, and now we are who we are today. Again, pure speculation, getting all sci-fi on you, but how do we really know? I mean, we barely even know our own planet still. Man, yeah, and Jimmy just answered that for you too, Zulu. Thermonuclear war, that is why. Zulu, what do you mean by that? You said we believe that because NASA said that? Nope. Just our own research. Well, true. Yeah, Tim, you're right about that. You said careful with Bob Lazar. He admits he's being drugged. Well, he was to being drugged rather, and hypnotized as part of his security vetting. He's not quite sure exactly when he worked at S4. Maybe so, but he was at Area 51. Talked about how they were reverse engineering, so on and so forth. Now that's why I said sometimes they're not 100% sure. However, through his own research, he said he worked, I guess, for S. He was, worked at S4. Um, Now, some of these things may have holes in it because, like you said, you can't be 100% sure. But as far as him being a total hoax, no, definitely not. Um, Julia said, "Do you think NASA wants you to think like that? The whole crash, ancient ruins? No, on the contrary, they want you to be totally oblivious. This is the reason why the cover up. This is the reason why you have this manipulation, obfuscations in these photos. They don't want you to think that. That's the last thing they want you to do. They don't want you thinking about these and researching these photos. They want you to stay dumbed down. They don't want you to think. Don't be a critical thinking person." Linda Borum, what's going on? Good to see you in there. You said it's funny you say about the moon being an artificial satellite. Before my mom died, she used to tell me about when I was a child. I used to get around. I used to get around. We all came from the moon. Yeah, well, that thought's been out there for I wasn't going to say thousands of years, but it's been around for many, many years. So it would not surprise me. Oh yeah, exactly, Tim. So you agree? Um, you know, This is the reason why when I hear one person say, well, check into this person, what I'll do is I'll listen. Give or take, I'm 50-50 about it. I'll just keep researching the person. And then if they are who they say they are, then you go, okay, well, you don't always entirely believe it all, but let's say it is like good reason to believe. Then you say, well, I probably 80% believe. So, yeah. Zulu said, NASA can alter the images to make it look like it is destroyed and ruined, etc. How can you believe the entire image? We don't know the extent to the manipulation. No, but you can. You're absolutely right about that. However, what you're seeing again is a digital overlay. So that's the falseness to it. You have to try to pull the lines and everything through this manipulation. That's the real data, not what you're seeing on the top. So read between the lines, as they say. And I've seen this for years. I've been researching these photos for years. So it's the top you're seeing. People go, oh my God, it looks so cartoonish and childlike. Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't believe a thing that shit shows. It's the stuff in between and the stuff you can drag through the lighter manipulation, not all of it. Because what we're only seeing is only a tip of the iceberg. So, yeah. What's going on, the Supreme Ruler? Good to see you in there, man. He said, I made it. Yay. Oh, you heard the same thing, Josh. I'm sorry, John D. He said, Chris, I heard the theory, too, that the moon was moved from Mars. I don't know how true that is. Of course, there's no way to prove that. So, you got to take that with a grain of salt, right? Alien, you said, what's funny about the moon is that it looks barren to most other bodies in our solar system. Very strange considering it resides in the Goldilocks zone like us. Absolutely. Like I said, if you read about, what other people talked about the moon, there's more moisture on the moon than they're saying. Long before they were saying there's more water on the moon. Of course, they said there's ice and everything else. There's a little bit more atmosphere, a little bit more gravity. Now they're saying it's like 60%, I read, of Earth's gravity, which that's not true. That's not what they say, and NASA says. But you know what I'm saying? It's like everything you've been taught, you have to rethink. Do your own research and rethink it. Now you're getting it there, Zulu. Yep. Maybe they want us to think it's uninhabitable, but it's possible that life is thriving. Yep. Reverse psychology. You keep telling everybody, it's harsh, it's barren land, blah, 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 blah. Nothing's there, so on and so forth. So yeah. I mean, right off the bat, you think, well, then clearly NASA's telling the truth. We got to believe them. No. Now, based on their photos, whether it be the moon or Mars or any other darn photo. Like I said, I don't care what you look at, what photo you look at. There's no reason why any of these photos should be manipulated. Think about it. If they're raw, if they're quote unquote raw photos, then they should be as raw as any photo you take. Go into a forest, take a picture, that's raw. Which means none of the data has been messed with. Straight from the camera to you. Raw. That's it. No, there should be nothing in between. So whether you believe any of the stuff we're seeing in these photos is immaterial. It really doesn't matter. What you got to question is why the hell are they messing with these photos to the point you can actually see all the manipulation? I've showed this many, many times in my videos. So you ask yourself, why are they messing with these photos, period? What's the reason for it? Jimmy says moon is 100% an artificial machine. I learned from former important insiders. I am completely sure of this, folks. Yeah, I mean, from what I've been reading as well, Jimmy, I believe you're right, and I believe they're right. It just points that way. It rings out when you slam it with a third stage rocket. Like I said, guys, they didn't bring these seismometers on the moon just for shits and giggles. And they weren't trying to see if the moon would have its own moonquakes. They happened to bring them up there before they slammed these rockets into the moon. Why? They wanted to see if this thing, how much it would ring out. Now, if it just went and it just, trembled a little bit and that was it, No, it just rang for hours on end. Okay, so they already knew something was weird about the moon to begin with. So for them to do that, they said, okay, they had an inkling of this. Why don't we try bring up a seismometer, crash the third stage rocket into the moon? Let's see what it does. And that's what they found out. And they found all this metals on the moon. Um, come on. So they're not up there again looking for rocks. It's much deeper and bigger picture than you can imagine. Well, like I said, Zulu, you said the question was, have you seen the Mars movie? What makes you think they don't have software, AI software that can generate Mars images? Absolutely, absolutely. But you got to understand something. They have all these photos that they take. We're not the first ones to see these. Okay. First of all, it's the insiders there: NASA, JPL, NASA geologists, NASA scientists, so on and so forth. Then these have to be handed off to the public. Well, how do they do that? Well, take an original photo and basically crap on it. Digital overlay it, manipulate it, obfuscate it, send it out. If you were to put them in photo forensics, you can see the fakery in it, the top layer. But it also has real information like a regular photo. Just like if you take a photo, go on photoforensics.com, put your own photo on there, it'll show you everything about that camera. You know, if you used a flash, how many, the shutter speed, so on and so forth. What mode, whether you took it in, regular black and white, you took it in color, whatever. I mean, it just goes on and on. How many megapixels, you name it. Okay. A lot of theirs, when I put them in there, had no information at all. It would just show the size of the photo and something else, and that was it. But it would also show, some of them would show all the information you needed to know. So the information, so it has to have the source photo, meaning the original, so we know it's there. But is it under all of the mess that they lay over it? That's what's going on. Matt McCarthy you put on there. Krista Hubble took a pic of a billion galaxies. I mean, we are just one galaxy. We would be silly to think we're the only intelligent life, right? Absolutely. Here's the thing: we are all, including animals, plant life on this planet, we're all carbon-based life forms. We are stardust. We are what makes up the galaxy. So, what makes anybody think we're the only living creatures? You'd have to be out of your mind to believe that. So, start with that first and go from there. Um, like I said, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. If we are part of the star system and we're carbon-based life forms, there you go. I mean, everything on this planet is carbon-based. So, in carbon is throughout the galaxy and the universe. So there you go. I'm not saying there's people like us everywhere. I'm just saying that there's at least organics, maybe small animals living on other planets that adapted to their atmosphere, or their oxygen levels. Maybe they breathe something different. Who the hell knows? Until you get there, until you know it, you don't know. Hey, Rachel, didn't see you sneaking in. Rachel Anderson, hello. And by the way, happy Valentine's to you. MC Gamer, you said the Chinese are up there getting the best technology to take over the world. Um, no, because we've already been there. You could bet we've already been there. probably long past the Apollo missions, Apollo 17. You know, you can bet we continued on, whether it be probes, um, other manned missions. Like I said before, who's to say that we couldn't use like the SR-71? Again, this thing was built, probably blueprinted in the 40s, was in service, top secret in the 50s. Nobody knew jack about it until the 90s. Okay, that thing was doing, what the hell was it? 2,500 miles an hour. So, okay, you get a plane like that, stealth. Keep in mind, who's to say you can't use that thing, retrofit it for rockets to be out in space? In other words, it could fly out to the atmosphere, the outer atmosphere, and go fly right to the moon. As long as you got an atmospheric suit on, giving you oxygen, everything you need to do, like they did going to the moon. Okay, same difference. Nobody'd even see you go there because it's basically, unless they know you're taking off, then they can actually record you, meaning, record you and everything else taking off and flying out. But you're actually out of radar. Nobody can actually see you take off. So you can literally go to the moon, land there, do whatever you're going to do. What's the gravitational pull on the moon? Well, now they're saying, I've heard 60% of the where Earth is. Still easy to get off that moon. You literally take off like the space shuttle, take off, come right back to Earth. There you go. And if you got plenty of fuel, you only need to get out of the gravitational pull of the Earth, and then just basically you're on a trajectory, come down on and just fly in onto the moon. And same thing, when you take off, it's easier to take off from the moon than it is from Earth. Come right back. Once you take off, shut off the engines, you still, there's nothing to slow you down. There's no friction in space. Come back to Earth and just fly in like the shuttle did. What the hell? How do we know they didn't keep going? They don't have moon bases and everything else. I believe they do. And we already picked that stuff apart. You can bet. Long before the Chinese got there. And even the Soviet Union back in the day, what they would call the Soviet Union, even they got a peek at it with their Lunokhod rovers. So they looked at everything, got cameras, took soil samples, sent the information back, took photos, sent information back. So, yeah. We were in the know long before the Chinese were there. And guess what? It's no different now. They're just as bad as NASA with their photos. Of course, they're all bedfellows anyway. They're all working together. At least the higher up part of it is. XD file, he said, and the moon is a perfect distance and size for us to be a perfect solar eclipse. I find that very strange that the chances of that happening is astronomical. Yeah, absolutely. And many people have talked about that. It's just like absolutely perfect. And you start to read more and more about the difference, or, the relationship from the moon to Earth and everything else. It's just weird. Like, you just named one of them and it's just bizarre. Some people say, well, it's other beings watching us like a giant ant farm. Like they had like their hand putting in different, we use the term races of people. Like, we have African Americans, we have Italian, we have whatever, Spanish, blah, 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 all different, speaking languages, everything else. It's like somebody said this one time, they said, and like they all put their own version of themselves on the planet, and they want to see how we evolve as either a whole or as maybe like as we do now, like we're warring a lot of times and everything else. How do we know? Yeah, it's just crazy. Robert Zilstra, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, said, Chris, listen, there's a contradiction in this story. NASA is tampering with the pictures, but why do they leave breadcrumbs for us on those pictures? I mean, a blind man can see these artifacts. Well, if they're pointed out, yes. In other words, long before you watch any channel. Doesn't even have to be mine. It could be anybody's. Could be Jimmy's. Could be mine. Could be anybody's. Or you did your own research on these photos, right? So before you looked at them, think about this a minute. You're online, or maybe you've seen them in a book. Wow, those are great. You would have never thought to look at them unless till one day you just looked at something really good. You took the inkling and said, man, I'm going to look at this with a magnifier. Wow, what the hell is that? So until you wanted to learn and really start to pull these things apart, you had no idea. Just like most people just looked, oh wow, they're just pictures of the of another planet. That's wild to see. But when they really start to look at these things, then they go, wow, I didn't realize these things were, oh my God, the stuff I'm seeing in these. And that's what it's all about. And the reason why I think they leave these artifacts, and I've said this many times, is that I think it's slow disclosure, like a drip, slow drip. And I think what they're trying to do is people who want to know and inquisitive to want to find out, they will analyze and scrutinize these photos. They will find the truth for themselves. Anybody else is going to be left behind. The ones that don't give a damn, that would rather watch some sitcom than open their minds. You know, to me, that makes perfect sense. Right, 357 Robbie, you're right. That's what they tell us. The moon gravity is 1/6, Chris, not 60%. So you said that would mean that a 180 pound man would weigh about 30 pounds. Correct. However, I read this paper on these scientists that looked into this, and the more they studied, they said, no, it's not 1/6. It's actually 60% of Earth's. So being that, now that makes a little bit more sense. If you remember correctly, when they were talking about, remember how they showed the astronauts kind of doing this crap? They said, well, if you speed it up, it looks like they're on Earth. So, ooh, it must be fake. It was recorded on Earth. But what if the gravity is pretty close to Earth's? Wouldn't you actually walk around a lot like Earth? So they had to slow it down, show you less gravity. Think about it. And the fact that they came back, that their suits were wet. Okay, what's that mean? Just look into a lot of this stuff. It's crazy how much shit is really coming out. And the more you analyze this stuff, you just go, wow, I didn't know that. And literally it'll put your brain in overload. I mean, when you start really getting into this stuff, it's crazy. Tim G. Star, he said, I hope Elon Musk will blow the top off when he gets to Mars and get the truth. Nah, I'm afraid not, man. He's been had to. I mean, think about it. If you're a multi-billionaire, and of course you are him, and obviously SpaceX, you're now subcontracted from NASA to deliver, supplies to the ISS, right? So, and of course, he's probably in deep with these guys. So he's probably like, I'm going to help everybody get to Mars, blah, 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 blah. But hey, man, you got to tell me what's up. Tell me what's really going on Mars. Can you show me some pictures? Listen, I won't tell a person. I'll just take it to the grave. Okay. I mean, you're in, so you might as well be told. Now, not necessarily, but there's a good chance he would be. So again, another bedfellow, and he's not going to say anything. I highly doubt it. It'll take somebody who's actually going to, like you got Virgin Space, whatever it is. What's his name? You guys don't know his name off the top of your head. And they want to take people on the outside of the Earth, in the outer atmosphere or within the atmosphere, do like a 7-minute flight, come back down, probably cost you about $100,000. And then of course they want to take you to the moon and back. Okay. Now, I believe they'll hide that too. In other words, it'd be like almost like a plane, right? But they'll have the windows closed. You won't see anything, and I don't mean literally open, so you'll fly out. But I mean, they'll have like they can put like a shutter down on it, so you won't be able to see out the window. So when they come down to down to the moon, not Mars, but when they come down, they're flying over the moon. They'll open it up so you can actually see the moon where there's nothing to be seen. Then, of course, okay, we're going to be taking back off. Glad you guys get to see this. Close it back again so you can't see nothing as you're pulling away. And, of course, you won't be allowed to use cameras. You won't be allowed to use anything. So even if you go back and you say, I'm going to tell the world the truth, they're going to go, yeah, this guy's a nut job. Prove it. He can't because he wasn't allowed to take a camera, wasn't allowed to take anything. So, and the same thing is going to apply to Mars. They're not going to tell you anything. Yes, Richard Branson, absolutely. I knew you guys knew that one. Well, like I said, like Elaine Walsh, you said Richard Branson is very corrupted. Don't believe for a minute that he will tell the truth. No. Any of these guys who are working with either NASA, even I think even he claims that he believes aliens are real. And think about it. If you had the money these people had, filthy rich, I want you to picture something a minute. You tell your company, listen, I want you to just build an orbiter or something. I don't give a crap what it is. Anything. Just build a probe. Just do a flyby. A modern day flyby of what the Viking missions did back in the 70s, right? Do a flyby. I want to either by the moon, real close to the moon, slow it down. I want to see everything on that. And then it can take off and go to hell for all I care. Same thing goes with Mars. Send one by there, slow it down, go into the lowest part of the atmosphere. And if it crashes, who gives a damn? As long as I get images back, I can see what's really on that planet. You filthy rich, you can do that. So these guys know the real answers. Hell, if I was filthy rich, that's the first thing I'd try to do. I mean, think about it. Makes perfect sense. Cody Goforth, you said, are humans taking the TRB-3 to Mars? They could be taking anything there. Just like the old shuttles. Why couldn't they retrofit that instead of having the Bay Area? Maybe cut it down to size, make that all fuel. So take off. Now, they used to run it piggyback, but I think it was a 747. At the time, they would launch those from a 747 so they would save fuel. But if you had something like that, like I said, the SR-71, TR-3B, whatever it is, anything that's, it can go unnoticed from radar, right? Anything like that, nobody will see you go. Literally, take off, go right to the moon, come back. What should stop you? I mean, we always think of rockets like taking off like this. Whoa, they're struggling to get out. They're struggling to get out. But you see these planes take off all the time. They take off from a regular runway and go right out into the edge of the atmosphere. But what if you had more fuel? And the pilot was actually in a pod that was had his life, all kinds of, oxygen, anything he needed right there in the cockpit. It doesn't matter about the rest of the craft. It doesn't have to be airtight. Who gives a shit? It just flies, goes there, drops off supplies, comes back. What do the shuttles do back in the 80s? I forgot when they first started, but when they started to build the ISS, those are the things that are making the trips. If they can go out into space, or at least within the atmosphere, build this thing, why can't they just continue on to the moon? All you need is more fuel. And once you get out of the Earth's gravitational pull, like I said, shut the engines off. You're already on a trajectory. All you hit is a yaw and roll just to make sure you stay in the trajectory you need to be on, and then slow yourself down getting to the moon. There's not as much pull like the Earth is. I mean, why is it so hard to believe that? It's completely feasible. Mike Hoover, what's up, man? What's going on? Good to see you in there. Yep. Don't have a problem pulling the plug on ISS video. Yeah, exactly. You ever notice that? Something comes into view. All of a sudden, we're changing cameras. Don't be worried. We'll be back in a few minutes. Never fails. It's probably why they have multiple cameras. So they can easily shut one off and go to another when they start to see something come into range. Oh, okay, switch. Right, MC Game, you're right. He said, I wouldn't tell the truth. I would fear for my family. And that's what all the astronauts believed. And that's what I'm saying. If you think about it, like I said, when them guys came back from Apollo 11, again, they look nothing like before they took off to go on the mission to the moon. They look absolutely scared out of their mind, like they seen a ghost, and they weren't allowed to talk about it. Think about it. It's crazy. That's right, guys. If you haven't hit the thumbs up, slam it hard. Hit that thumbs up button. Bam. Robert Gilstra, you said, Chris, NASA is funded by the taxpayer, a penny for every dollar. Falsify evidence is illegal. Why does general public not suing NASA in order via court full disclosure? I agree with you. But like I said, if you notice, they was like $8 trillion missing, like in 2004, right? Nobody is unaccounted for. So even though they're supposed to be going to, they actually ask for the money every year, right? So they give them allotted money, which they claim is not a lot at all, considering, right? But now, if they swung from going to the moon, now just more concentrating on Mars to colonize a dead world. Now, I understand that because it's the closest thing to Earth, and it's within the Goldilocks zone still. And I can just imagine. I mean, you can run a lot of solar power in there. People will say, why? The sun doesn't have as much strength. Well, if they claim that the atmosphere is not as, or is very thin compared to Earth, then you get a whole lot of radiation, you get a whole lot of sunlight still, even though the sun is still smaller. You don't have as much, blocking out a lot of the heat and stuff like that. At least not during the day. Because, I mean, direct sunlight, now the second the sun starts to drop, heat's gone, man. It's like radiational cooling, almost instantaneous. So, but as long as it's during the day, direct sunlight, you're good. And if they do get the windstorms that they claim they do, well, wind generators will work perfect there. But don't think for a minute these that they're not just taking the money. You know what I mean? Ian Thomas, you said, did the Indian moon mission really crash? They weren't even that far from the actual lunar surface, guys. I don't think that thing's completely dead. I don't think it is. Like I said, remember what happened to China when they first went to the moon, right? They were I'm trying to remember. No, it was India. I'm sorry. The Chang'e 3. When they first went to the moon, and you guys know the stories, we've talked about it before, but the people who haven't heard this, when they went up there, they had the I'm trying to remember here. I'm going to go slow on this. The actual rover, okay, when supposedly at night, this thing was supposed to close its solar panels. It was supposed to stop itself from freezing. So when they did that, they said they couldn't close one of them, so therefore it froze. So therefore it was unbearable for the thing. It could not close it, so it ceased to function. Okay. Well, a couple of the ham radio operators were on when they were listening. They still heard this thing ping, which is the same thing the Curiosity rover does when it's trying to say, hello, Earth, we're good. Well, that same rover does the same thing. It pings, and they heard it pinging. So they knew it was online. They knew it was working. So knowing that, they claimed of course, they flagged bullshit on it. But they said, well, we did get the rover to work again. However, we're not going to show the public any more thing. We're just going to let it keep doing it, continue on its scientific, work on the moon. Imagine that. So it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying that it did not happen. I'm not saying that without a doubt that the lander made it. I'm just saying that to me, it's a 50-50 thing. I don't think it crashed. I forget how many feet it was from the actual lunar surface, but they said it landed a little hard, so they can't get it to, they can't contact it, so therefore it's junk. I don't believe that's the case. I'm a little bit dubious to begin with, but I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's still working. And I think all of these rovers are just be bopping around and doing their thing, and they're finding out all information and checking out these whatever's left on the moon. Mike Horvey said NASA and the Illuminati have got to show the brainless public that their tax dollars is going to a specific place. Absolutely. And this is why I said there's a public side of NASA and there's the elite side of NASA and every other space agency that's actually spacefaring. And what I mean by spacefaring, I mean as far as machine wise, right? So, absolutely. Like I said, there's two sides to these space programs. One, again, just a PR side to it. And then, of course, we've got the more technical and military side to them, right? Howard Taylor, what? No comment on the flat Earth? Nope, because it's not flat. Josh D said, I do remember looking out the window thinking someone was outside. And when I opened the curtain, an alien was looking at me eye to eye. I believe he knew I was going to look out. Psychic. That could be pretty scary. Exactly, Ian. Yep. Can't have wind without an atmosphere. Well, they claim that a 300 mile an hour storm there would be equivalent to about 60 miles an hour here. That's what they claim due to the pressure in the atmosphere or the lack of atmosphere on Mars. That's what they claim. Jimmy, he's a Chris the Butte on Solve 1450 today video. I use Hascam imagery from 1449 to measure the elevation rise to 9 or 30 feet. Surprise! Hot no. Well, here's the other thing too, Jim. We got to get together because I can tell you right now, like that one. I don't know if it was just last one, 1450, or the one prior. You did a video on it because you said you had mentioned me on there, and I forget how tall you are, but you're a pretty tall guy. Now, I always tell people, remember the rover itself, when the mass is fully up, is 7 feet tall. Okay. So let's suppose you're 6'2", 6'4", whatever you may be, right? Okay. If you were to lay down from and touch your feet on the wheel of that rover and put X amount of you in a row, believe it or not, to where you saw that, what looked like everybody was saying it was like a bird, right? That thing, not more than 50 feet. Now, I think you claimed it was like 149. And I'm not saying you're entirely wrong because there's really, if you try to use a lot of stuff what NASA gave us, like here's a good example. Years ago, when another guy was on, he was really, really good with this stuff. And he was deep into these photos. And what happened was when he looked at it, he found what this scaling, what they told us it was totally off. So whether it's centimeters, meters, it didn't matter. And of course, you can break that down. You can convert it, whatever. But when I looked at it, I said, there's no freaking way what they claim. Now, there was one. I don't remember the butte now. Probably done a month ago, I think. But they claimed that the rover, from the rover itself to the base of the actual butte, was around 30 feet. And it seemed pretty accurate from the way I saw the rover, because you could see like the wheel of the rover. And I'm guesstimating. When I'm looking at it, I'm saying, okay, if I was standing next to this thing, I know how tall the rover itself is. So let's say, for argument's sake, you were 7 foot tall. Okay, you're 7 feet tall. You could literally walk over to this boulder, and I showed it, where it looks like there's a boulder. You could pick it up, throw it around. It's not that far from the rover. And when I seen that to that other area, I was guesstimating 50, 75 feet tops. And again, you have to visualize yourself standing on the side of that rover. And if you could lay down and put yourself end to end all the way to that, how long do you think it would be? And it's really not that far. And if you go by the scaling, what NASA shows, I don't think they're telling the truth at all. And I think a lot of these photos, and we don't even know this, We don't know how far these things even zoomed in. They go from 0 to infinity. Of course, that doesn't really mean much, but they got a decent zoom to them. So we don't even know. Let's suppose for a moment they can zoom in like 50% into an area, okay? But then they can just such clarity that you would not believe it. So you wouldn't see like that, that blur that you would see when you really, really zoom in, where you kind of see it just doesn't look clear. That they can do it in such a clarity that you would think you're literally right there, like the rover's literally sitting there, and you're not. So for all we know, they could be using the Molly cam on the ground, and we're seeing this, what looks like a huge area, and these things might be only inches big. We don't know. Now, obviously, the buttes make sense because you can see the background and everything else, so you know that that's not on the ground. But I don't think they're as big as we think they are, or at least they're claiming. I see when they said one was like 11 feet tall, that made sense. 20 feet tall made sense. Because again, I believe they're structures or some kind of vehicle. When you see these, structures, like I said, at Mount Shop, again, look at all of them at the base of Mount Shop. They're all lined up in a row. They're not buttes, and they're all rounded in the face. Like they all made them smooth, and they run all the way around. Like I said, I use that analogy like a car lot. That they're all completely lined up, and then there's some in the back. So are they structures, and there's some of them in the back too, bigger ones? I don't think that. I'll bet my life on it. They're definitely not buttes or anything like that. Definitely not. Moon mission. Seeing as how you're a radio buff, what are your thoughts on the power needed for the first Apollo transmission? You didn't need much. Here's a good example. I could sit here where I'm at here in West Virginia in the tri-state area, and I can listen to the ISS. It was in Michigan, even more west of that. Okay. Keep something in mind. There is no obstructions when something's in the air. So I can listen to airplanes miles upon miles away. They could be in another state, 2 states away. I can still hear them. And of course, it depends on your antenna and, of course, the sensitivity of your receiver. So they didn't need very much to transmit back to Earth. And if they're using a DSN, a deep space network, to boot, oh my God, you could use 5 watts and hear you all day long. Even some of the radios that are on the ISS are only 50 watts. They're not even high powered, but there's no obstructions because they're in the air. Now, if you were down in a city, oh yeah, there's no way. 50 watts will not go very far in a large city. It just wouldn't happen. There's so many obstructions. But yeah, you don't need a whole lot. You really don't. Yeah, okay, Jimmy, that's cool. He said, Chris, I'll have to look for that measurement, but I'm certain that the measurements are correct, done using LR on the notebook. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the idea of the notebook. But even I don't see that as 100% accurate. Yeah, you can get pretty darn close. And you'd have to agree that when you see these things, you go, okay, that it appears the way it measures and measures out to, let's say, I think you said it was 149 feet. And when I looked at that thing, I'm going, man, I just don't see it. Now, it's not just yours, the way you measured it. I've done it myself. And I look at it, calculate it, and I go, don't seem right, man. Just doesn't seem right. Because again, as long as the rover's in the picture, you can get a pretty good idea, again, just how big this thing is. If it's the mass cam, then you're looking down at the ground and above. So you go, okay, that's 7 foot high. Because like I said, once it brings it up, now the mass is 7 foot. Once at the top of that, and if you're 6'3", 6'4", whatever you are, okay, you can get a pretty good guesstimation. It's almost like you can walk over and grab these boulders, and that white thing that is at the base, 50, 75 feet tops. It's not really that far away. That bird thing, you may be a good calculation on that, because that sounds pretty accurate, pretty good. Because I was looking at the way you measure that, and I said, that one seems pretty good, accurate measurement. Some of the other ones, it's just hard to gauge, even though you're going by the notebook. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just depth perception itself. It's hard to tell, right? Matt McCarthy said, any news on the Black Knight? Chris, Nothing new on it. No. Um, Same thing it's always been. But like I said, we're gonna be. I've already done videos on that. Um, on the Black Knight. In fact, my buddy Billy Carson, there's gonna be an event coming out about that, like a movie type thing, where I've already gave him some enhancements of it as well as some of my video clips, and he's also had other people who are in the know about it, who actually interviewed and are making a video, like a movie about it. So that would be pretty interesting. Oh yeah, yeah. Matt McCarthy. Yeah, he said I remember not long ago NASA. Maybe last April, a picture of a base on Mars was brought to light, and NASA said it was an April Fool joke. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You're talking about it was a satellite view of it, I think. Yeah, that was actually it was done by the supposedly the GT. No, well, I don't know. I think it was the same one. Yeah, I think it was a satellite, but yeah, they claimed that they put that there. The CGI department threw it in there. So, and that may be because it did look like it was fake. So yeah, it was kind of funky. And if you notice, right around April Fools, yeah, it's supposed to be Tim G. Star. Yeah, with the will the new rover will be getting audio. It's supposed to, and I still find it hard to believe that even back in the day, in the Viking missions, not the actual flybys, but the actual lander in 76, 75, 76, where this thing didn't have any audio. Like I said, supposed to be the smartest people on the planet. We can take pictures, but you know what? Like I said, the two main instruments I would have put on there is eyes and ears. First two things I would have put. The hell with everything else. So I find it hard to believe they wouldn't at least put that on there. How much information or data would it take to upload 5 seconds of an audio? Not video, audio. You're talking kilobytes. Wouldn't have cost shit. So to me, it makes more sense that they actually had eyes and ears back then, even. And supposedly, though, it's going to have audio, but this is what I don't get. They said they're going to have it on the descent stage. Now, think about that. You go, okay, descent stage. Okay. So we're going to have so much wind turbulence that you're not going to be able to hear what the hell's going on. What the hell's the point of having a mic there? But the good thing about it, they are going to have a camera on that. So you're not going to just have it. Remember, they showed it last time with the Curiosity rover. They had the crane and they had the descent camera on it. So you can literally see it look like a disc dropping down from the crane, or at least from the actual, I'm sorry, not the crane, but the actual craft. It dropped it. Of course, it dropped down. You can see it dropping, but they're going to actually have it on the actual rover itself. It's going to actually be on it. So the descent stage, you can actually see it drop. Supposed to have airs on it. Supposed to have a helicopter on it. Store the soil samples in small tubes and then place them on the actual Martian surface. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see this thing. I didn't hear anything about ESA lately, or ESA, depending on how you pronounce it. They're supposed to be sending a lander. We're supposed to have a 6-foot drill bit and it's supposed to have penetrating radar. It's supposed to be able to go 75 to 100 feet into the surface. So be curious about that too. Funny enough, it's how you've seen the Mars Insight lander. How they had, remember I showed you guys last, I think it was on the last Hangout, where they had the bizarre sounds that it was picking up. And like I said, they had the video, and on one half of the video shows like the audio graph, and the right side it showed the actual lander, and it had the actual arm itself on there. And every time this thing made noise, they said, "Oh, this is by the arm on the Mars Insight." I went, "Okay, what dumb shit would literally have the ground penetrating radar, or I'm sorry, a seismograph on the ground, and then move something on the actual lander? Why would you do that?" Or had nothing to do with that lander. They just put that in there to make it look good. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Every time that noise, it made a noise. But then there was one that was going ping, 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 and it would literally pick up speed, and you can doop, 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 and almost like water droplets on the actual seismograph, and then you hear boom, boom, boom on the side of them. Going, wait a minute, come on, and they're saying it's the actual lander's tool arm or the arm itself. I went, why would you run that knowing that you're trying to pick up sounds in the ground. Why would you run the lander? Makes no damn sense. I don't buy it for a minute. I think there's something going on below that surface, and that's the reason why they're bringing this. They brought the seismograph, and that's the reason why they're going to bring that ground penetrating radar to find out what's under the ground. Lane Wentworth, he said, is the Black Knight actually legit? From what I've read, it seems to be. Am I 100% certain? No. I believe there's some truth to it, and this thing might have been out there for years, long before we had technology, or we had technology way back in the day when we were in a different life cycle. When we had, because we're on the fifth one now, when we had a catastrophic event, we were probably, according to some of these ancient civilizations, we were around when dinosaurs were around. So Angkor Wat's in Cambodia actually shows what looked like a stegosaurus. Wait a minute. Why the hell would they show a stegosaurus? What the hell would they have to do with a stegosaurus back in Ed days? So, like, we were walking around with the dinosaurs at the time. Well, that's 65 million years ago, according to science. So, if that's true, were we around before that time? And were we more technologically advanced before we had a catastrophic event here? Like what ended the dinosaurs? Maybe not all life was killed off, but maybe we were technologically advanced then. And who knows, that wasn't something we put out in space a long time ago. All pure speculation. Nothing but speculation, guys. But it's something that's food for thought. I don't know. Renee von Oosterhood. Chris, if I may ask, what is your IQ? I don't know. I've never been tried. I don't know. But guys, you know what? I'm no smarter than you are. Truthfully, I'm no smarter than you are. It's like the same thing. If you did research on a lot of you guys already do. If you did research on a lot of stuff, what would your IQ be? You wouldn't. It's not about IQ. It's about in the know, right? So you guys, I'm no better than you are. I mean, truthfully. Well, you might be right on there, Jimmy. It's just some of the measurements I don't see you being accurate. And I'm not talking about your work or what you're using as far as the notebook. I'm talking about some of these other photos. Remember back in the day, I don't know if you were studying these, but long ago when they had like like their own pans, right? They would have a scaling on there and it'd be like meters, centimeters, whatever. And clearly, when you look at some of these things, you can see the rover in the picture, and you can see what's looking down, whether it's in a valley or above that. And I go, and they'll say like it's only like, well, translated from or converted from centimeters or meters, it'd be like 6 feet. I'm going, damn, are you kidding me? This thing's like 20 feet away. There's no way. And you can clearly see it just by, like I said, a guesstimation. Even your eyes can tell the difference. So I don't know if all of that's correct, but I think we can get a pretty good generalization of measurements, right? Lane Wentworth, you said, what puts me off about the Black Knight being real is when I hear people saying it's been there for 20,000 years. Sorry, how could we know that? Actually, I heard about 32,000 or 36,000, but regardless, the only thing I can think of is that they actually went out there and studied it. Now, what I don't understand is why wouldn't they just yank it out of space? Unless this thing's big enough where they can't even get into a cargo bay, and they don't want it to crash into the planet. So, whatever, who knows? But I know during the STS missions, NASA tried to pass it off as a thermal blanket. Now, although it is true that they did lose a thermal blanket, there's no lying about that. That's the truth. But when you see the blanket, you can tell it's the blanket. When you see the craft, it's got girth to it. It's actually large. It's not just a thin piece of mylar just floating out in space. It's actually, you can see that this thing has a shape to it. And once you bring the shadows out of that thing, oh my god, um, I don't know how big it is, but it's a good size. And the STS pictures actually have pictures of it, or the missions have pictures of it rather. And you can see this thing pretty cool. You can actually see this is what they did. They took about, I'm gonna guess, there's probably 6 or 8 photos, right? Took the pictures and they took them of the blanket, and there's no doubt it is the blanket, no argument. But then you see some other ones, clearly not the blanket. And they want you to just say, oh, yeah, 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 we'll just pass it off as the blanket. Clearly, because you can see the blanket right there in different angles. There it is. So therefore, this is the blanket. No, because when you, like I said, when you bring that thing and enhance it, oh my God, there's no way that thing is a blanket. Well, it's true, Jimmy. You're right. Also, Chris, think about it. We're talking about 49 yards, which is, you're right. You say one half of a football field. Tom Brady can throw a football that far with his left hand, which is absolutely true. So, like I said, a lot of these measurements I believe are pretty accurate. Um, and I believe some of them could be pretty much dead on. I think that, but I've seen some photos that just not quite feeling. I'm sure you even did the same thing, even though you go by the actual measurements there in the notebook. But I'm sure sometimes you must look at it and go, man, I don't, that just doesn't look right. I mean, I'm going to believe it because it's supposed to be, scientific, measurements and everything else. But even you got to doubt some of these things like, man, it just doesn't quite look like that. Really? Is that far or that close? So I don't know. Tim G. Star says Hindu scripture says it goes back tens of thousands of years old. Wouldn't surprise me. Renee Von Vanderstoot, you said, I know you read a lot and store a lot in your brain, Einstein. Well, like I said, I'm not doing anything special here, guys. Ain't nothing you guys can do. Just all about research. What's going on there, Cyberpunk? Didn't even see you in there, man. Look up a declassified file from the FBI released in 2010, Memorandum 6751. Seems to me I heard about that. What did that even entail? MC Gamer. Well, you made it really hard to do that. He said, hey, Chris, if you had a choice about any planet or moon you could visit, what would it be? What would you pick? And don't say Mars. Okay, I won't say Mars, but Mars. Um, well, I'd probably go to the moon because to me, that's where man has started, right? Um, because I'm sure, because you go back even to the crude telescopes looking over at looking at the moon, they claim they used to see all kinds of lights on the moon way back in ancient times. When I say ancient times, I'm talking 17, 1600s and stuff like that, where they've had the crude telescopes, everything else. Now they're seeing all kinds of lights on the moon then. What the hell are these lights? I mean, does it make sense? Why would these guys be seeing lights on the moon, especially when back then they didn't even have lights, at least on Earth? I mean, what? I'm talking, flames for light, right? The Sky Hunter, thank you for your support. I appreciate it. You said, please look at my Scottish site. Thanks, all the Sky Hunter. If you got a link, drop it. And I'll go ahead and I'll put the link public. If you haven't already dropped it, I'll go ahead and put it on there. Once again, I appreciate your support. Massimiliano says or asks, do you believe in aliens? I believe in other beings, yes. I don't know why. When I think aliens, I think everybody talks about the little almond-eyed little gray guys, and I think there's much more to it than that. I think there's a lot of them like us out there. Now there might be deviations because depending on the planet they come from and how evolved they are, it's like they say right now, our brains are getting larger, our heads are getting bigger. We're actually evolving, actually pretty damn quick too. I might add. Moon mission, transient phenomenon, very old observations. Yep. Linda, you said I'd love to go to Titan. I would too. I mean, they're saying it's a lot like Earth. I mean, they've got water and everything else, and they they believe there is life there. That would be interesting to see. Was it? Trying to think now. I believe it was. Well, Andrew Finley, you said, did Tesla report he had a signal from the Black Knight? Well, he wasn't sure. At least they're claiming this now about him. That he wasn't sure whether it was from the Black Knight or from Mars. Think about that a minute. So you can imagine that's pretty crazy. Can you imagine hearing a signal from Mars back in the day? Because let's suppose for a moment that keep in mind. I mean, it kind of falls into the place. They said it was two large nuclear explosions, thermonuclear or whatever, happened on Mars in the upper atmosphere of Mars, decimated the planet. But before it happened, let's assume that they had the same technology as us right now, meaning same frequency we transmit on, whether it's TV or digital frequencies, analog even, whatever, radio signals and everything else. Let's suppose they were that way back then and we were like behind the curve, but they had this technology and he heard that. In fact, what was it? I don't know if it was bogus or not. I don't know if you guys remember this, but they said they got like a help message, like they've received it on Earth. And it sounded like it was like they were saying something like we're dying or something like that. There was a dying planet, and then it just died off. You guys ever heard of that? It was probably bogus. I heard that a while back, some years back, and they said they had gotten this this message through radio waves or something like that, and they received it on Earth saying that, oh yeah, we're dying here, or help us, or something like that. So, but is even if it is bogus, who cares? The thing is, to me, it's like, how do we know at the time he wasn't listening to somebody that they were technologically advanced back then, and then they had this catastrophic event? Who knows? Whether it's 1941 or earlier. I don't think it was all that long ago, because if Mars, in fact, has a water cycle, has wind, the whole nine yards, it would have eroded or completely dissolved anything that's on that planet at this time. Now, if you go by a time frame 1941 to right now, we're talking X amount of years, right? Now, if you're talking thousands, would that shit even be there? I don't think so. I think that would have been long gone. Oh, Jimmy, you're more than welcome. You know that. He said, sorry for the distance discussion, Joel. Chris, at least perhaps people get a glimpse at what we discuss. We aren't spinning our wheels with Marvin the Martian. We are serious about this. Oh, absolutely. And it's all about, sharing any kind of knowledge anyway, right, Jimmy? It's about, people having an out to be able to get more information. And if you think about it, you and I are the same way. We're on a learning curve. And I've said this many, many times. We're all humans here. We're trying to find the truth. So to me, it just makes more sense. I love having these discussions here because everybody's got different ideas, what they think might have happened. And I don't think they're too outlandish to believe some of these things because we don't know. I don't think anybody's truly in the know. So, that's what I love about it. And we can have these discussions. So that's what it's all about, man. You ain't doing anything anybody else isn't doing here. Like I said before, you're more than welcome to be here. Linda says, Jimmy, love your work on the Martian reservoirs and water flow. That was a good one, by the way, the way you had that river coming down, kind of like looking like a little dam and stuff like that. No, I haven't. I know you guys are talking about that. You said, Matt, you said, Chris, did you check out the missing 411 after? No, I haven't checked that out. You guys have been discussing this for probably a good while now, and I don't think I've ever checked it out. Where can that be seen anyway? Robert, you asked, have you been ever been harassed by any agency of broadcasting your findings? Greets from the Netherlands. No, I haven't. Truthfully, I haven't. Like I said, I believe they're using people like me, Jimmy, other channels they're using us as pawns. And the reason for that, like I said, it's like, again, I don't know if there may be different reasons. It might be just to see, like I said before, they might be going, let's say they're watching this. Now, they may be chuckling, they may not be, but they might be going, let's just see what topics they talk about today. And would people really be frightened by the idea of aliens or whatever? Do you think they'd be frightened by it? I think we would be frightened if we went to Mars and seen the devastation on Mars. I think that would be more scary than seeing an actual Martian, if you will. And they may be a lot like us, or it might have been us way back in the day. And then we then came here. Either through the catastrophic problem we had on Mars, and we knew it, we are Martians ourselves, moved here. Okay. Or through the theory of panspermia. Either way, there's an identical Earth type thing going on. So if you think about the theory of panspermia, something hits the planet, it causes you get all kinds of debris going out into space, it makes its way to here to Earth. Life starts here from, on a molecular structure. Just like on Earth, you have a mirror image of Mars here on Earth. So indirectly, either way, we're Martians, if that's true, because a lot of scientists talk about the panspermia. So, or we were actually Martians to begin with. And like I said, our bodies are actually attuned to Mars. If you think about it, if there is less gravity, your body over a course of time would not compress because you got less gravity. They say that your body, your inner clock is actually more attuned to the day on Mars. And because you're further away from the sun, they claim if you're further away from the sun, you would not be getting the sunburns you get. I mean, there's just so many things. Now, whether all this is true or not, I don't know. But it kind of makes sense when you really think about it. You go, yeah, if there wasn't that much gravity, you wouldn't have all these back problems and stuff, unless, of course, you are a heavy worker and you just basically kill yourself. But if you're just a normal human being or person and not doing this heavy duty work to kill yourself, but over the years, your body starts to compress when you get older. You start, deterioration or whatever. And the gravity doesn't help. So if you were on a planet with less gravity, what would you be like? Well, they claim you'd be taller, more spindly. Who knows? I like the movie John Carter. That was pretty cool. Where he gets on there and he goes to run and he takes off like a rocket because he's got the muscles from living here in the gravity. And now when he's over there, he can launch himself and run like hell and everything else. Pretty funny. Yeah, I was just talking about the very same thing, Lane. What about the theory about we are more suited as species to living on Mars, so we're more involved there and moved to Earth? Eyes too sensitive to sunlight. Yeah, exactly. See, just exactly what I was just talking about. That's pretty scary in itself, the MC Gamer. He said, if we ever find alien life, I think it would look like the creatures from Starship Troopers. God, I hope not. Look like these giant beetles with these big friggin' beak type things. That would be pretty scary. Clock's 93. What's going on? Yo, what's up? Corge Grohl, you put on there now NASA publishes stereo pairs. Well, they actually always have, to a certain degree, because you got the right and left camera, right? So you can always tell the left one because it always has, I'm thinking it's the nav cam, which has that small artifact. People think it's a UFO. It's not. But they always had right and left. So you kind of can pair them together kind of thing because it always has a slight angle. But they always had the right and left, Lane Wentworth, you said, have you ever had a visit from the Men in Black, Chris or Jimmy? Nope. Like I said, I don't believe they will. half of them are probably trying to figure out, again, if they're listening, what the consensus is, how people feel about alien life or what it would be like on another planet. The other half is going, let them battle it out. The other ones that don't give a damn will be thinking, oh, these guys are nuts. And the ones that are doing the work are saying, well, these guys are nut jobs because they're not paying attention. Let them battle it out. That's why I'm saying they're using us as pawns and trying to get this feel of what's going on, right? Makes sense. Let me see here. Yeah, John D. Just make sure you're on the live chat. That's all. Because you do. You have live chat and you get the other one there. Top chat and live chat. Just make sure you're on the live one because you get the Instamatic. You know what I mean? Ryan says, dude, this guy is so smart. Dang. Well, like I said, I'm not any different than any one of you guys. Kenneth Lay said, to the powers that be, if you are watching, listening, I won't panic. I want to know the truth. I think everybody's on board with that. Moon mission sounds like my spine. Um, but I look at it this way, guys. It's like, like I said, they made this stupid Brookings report. Like, how would people, respond if they knew there was alien life out there? Well, back in the '60s, they'd probably shit themselves. But now people are so desensitized to it. Everything's a sci-fi flick now. Think about it. I mean, what's the point, right? Everybody go, oh, UFO, that's pretty nifty. Now, if it was anything like Independence Day, again, they'd probably crap themselves. But really, come on. People are ready for it. Now, I'll tell you what, though, and I've showed you guys some of the stuff I've found on the moon and on Mars. And like I said, if you were to take yourself and could transport yourself right in the middle of this stuff, I don't know. If you've seen the destruction there, I think first of all, the shock of knowing that it's nothing we've ever built. That's right off the bat. Like when these astronauts went to the moon, you can imagine their shock when they seen these structures or what looked like spaceship dilapidated, just laying on their sides or laying in, on the surface of the moon or structures. Okay. So that in itself, now when you see it's been blown to hell, now you have to ask yourself, okay, first of all, it's not ours. So that's shocking in itself. Two, what the hell did it to this stuff? And it looks like, let's say the stuff has been there for thousands of years when we didn't have the technology, or at least we don't think so. Okay, so if that's the case, can you imagine that? So now you go, okay, what the hell killed these people or these beings? Now I'm scared because you don't know what the hell to expect. And like I said, if you were to put yourself onto Mars and see some of the things we've seen, would you be okay with that being in the middle of it? Yeah, moon mission. Yeah, you said it was. You said, Chris, you said it was cool to drop a link. Yeah, like I said, if it's informative and it's it'll help everybody here take in more information. Absolutely. Jimmy says Men in Black now. Chris and I have talked on the phone about this. I believe I've been contacted by watchers, but they have never threatened. Stay clear of free energy topics, etc. Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, if you were going to be, I don't care who you are, if you were going to be threatened by it, first of all, they wouldn't threaten you. You know what I mean? And even if they did, let's say they pulled you into this black van and said, by the way, you will cease and desist, or we'll kill off you and your whole family, then you would just drop out of the picture. You would not be doing another video. I mean, it's just simple as that. And they got ways to make you disappear. Or perhaps you accidentally had a brake line cut 3 times. Things like that. Yeah, I mean, so who the hell knows? I mean, they're not going to play games with you. They're just going to make sure either they, like I said, they'll load your trunk up with meth and have the cops conveniently find you. And of course, okay, we'll put you away for 20 years in the Fed, and you're done. Or they say, we know what you're doing here. Again, with the threat, we know what you're doing here. You need to stop. But they don't care. I think what it is like I said, they will tell you right off the bat. They'll probably say, just let these guys do whatever they want. Go ahead. Like when they told, what's his name? I'll think of it in a second. But when he said, "Oh, I believe there's nuclear explosions on there. We have proof of that." And NASA said, "Go ahead and post it. We don't care. We don't care." So is it that they don't care, or they're just trying to get people attuned to the fact that there might be life up there, or was at one point? Because right off the bat, you're going to ask a whole bunch of questions. Okay, so how the hell are these two thermonuclear explosions go off? What did it? Who did it? You just open up a can of worms. So, it's almost like they just want people to get the information. This is the reason why they wouldn't screw with people like us. Because again, half of them will let other people battle it out with us, and the other ones will go, "Well, I totally believe," because these guys are following along. They're going through these photos and finding these anomalies that clearly look intelligently made. That's what we want. The people who are inquisitive enough will find this stuff. The people who are not, they'll argue with these people, with these YouTubers, and they won't give a shit. So, Renee, you said be proud of what you do, Chris. Jimmy, Jean Ward, and all the other pioneers are all. I am really a big fan of you guys. Thanks for all your work. Well, I appreciate that, Renee. And here's the thing: it's like I said. To me, I enjoy doing it. I know Jimmy does his own thing, and it's about it's something you're educating yourself with, but you want to pass it on. And that's what I'm saying. It's a learning curve for everybody, right? So we learn something new every day. Like, when Jimmy he tripped into, oh my God, I can actually find real measurements of this shit now. So with that aspect, I like the work he does, because he is actually finding the measurements and everything else. So we get a basic idea of just how big these things are. Now, I like the idea of you'll see me when I do these videos and these pans, these giga pans or whatever, I pull way back to give you an actual overall scene of the whole area and then zoom back in. So you can get an idea just how big this thing is in comparison to the whether the butte, hillside, whatever it may be, right? So again, it's a learning curve. We're all trying to figure this stuff out, and as long as there's enough more and more people, I don't know about Jimmy. I'm sure he agrees, but to me, I just look at it this way: if one person says, "I took what you said and I ran with it," because I know many people have told me, "Listen, I started to get my own Photoshop. I'm really breaking down these photos now. I'm really scrutinizing these things. I've done my job. I've done my job." The whole idea is to get this ball rolling. Like, we won't be here for the rest of our lives. Things may change in our lives. We might just stop doing them, period, or whatever the case is. And then other people will take over. And we're hoping that they're striving for the truth, because that's what it's really about, right? Tim G. Star, you said, I bet the rover is still working now. Which one are we talking about? Tim. Is that my voice? Um, gotta love this scratchy throat. Awesome. Gotta remind the person who gave me that cold to kill them. Doc Chuck, Little Chuck, what's going on? Where you been? Hiding again. Paul Cargo, you say, doesn't Google Mars give distances and measurements? I've never been a big fan of Google anything. Now Google Earth makes more sense, because when you think about Earth, we know for a fact, we know the structures, buildings, and everything else, right? A lot of the Google Mars, man, talk about redacted images. When you look at the ground and the satellite images of it, so much of it's just crap. Of course, you can see the swaths they actually have that are clear, and even them, just look at those real close. I don't trust a thing about that either. I like anything that's got to do with either what Jean Ward's doing, where he's doing the satellite photos, or the actual on the ground rovers. That makes sense to me, right? Doc, you said, can't believe you're still online. Happy Valentine's Day. Right back at you, man. Hope you're having a good one. Oh, yeah, we'll be wrapping this up in a few minutes. Man, almost 3 hours. You guys are the shit. Vincent Miller, what's going on? See, I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. We're just sitting there just throwing the crap around and boom, before you know it, like, man, really? We haven't been on. It says 2 hours and 56 minutes we've been on. That's what I'm talking about. Lane Wentworth, he said, I wish NASA would send a rover to Cydonia already. Well, again, I've said this before, the two explosions that happened on Mars, the bigger one was right over the actual Cydonia area. And I'm going to make sure I write this down because I try to say this every time. But the one east of it, just a little south and east of it, and I forgot the region, the smaller one went off on there. Now, depending on how large this thing was, this bomb, um, it's just crazy. But go just Google it. Say location of landers and rovers on Mars. You should see the planet, and you should see all the little dots of where these landers and everything are. You'll see the Curiosity rover is south of Cydonia. Pretty weird. So knowing that these bombs went off in these areas, yet the rovers are pretty darn close to these exploded areas. Now, don't get me wrong. This thing may be 50, a couple hundred miles away. I don't know. But it's just south of it, next to the equatorial region, just south of Cydonia region. Imagine that. Well, thank you, Rachel. You said you're awesome too, Chris. We love you. Well, I love you guys too. Jimmy says, regarding the Google Mars and measurements, Chris, I agree. And also, we are talking about objects that are millimeters in length versus kilometers or kilometers, and everywhere in between. Google, no good for that. Yeah, I've never been a big fan of it anyway. I mean, I tried that years ago to look at it, and you can find some decent stuff, but yeah, I mean, yeah. Google Earth, okay. Mars, meh, all set. And here's the funny thing, too. I had one guy say to me, oh, you're not seeing these things on the moon. Hey, man, here's a high definition photo of the moon. I'm like, wow, let me check this out. Man, I can't believe how crystal clear this is. Here's what's funny. Keep zooming into it. Keep zooming until you cannot zoom anymore. What happens is, as you're zooming in, everything looks nice and clear until you get really close. All of a sudden, you see patches of work that they've done. And these might be just swats of photos that they stitched together, which makes sense to me. However, the funny part about it is you can see where these things, some of these things have been worked. Like they're either blurred out or there's parts have been worked and everything else been censored. I went, oh my God, such crap. Please. Matt McCarthy said, Chris, you are a beast. We need more people like you exposing reality. Keep up the good work. Your videos, rather. I'm looking at this other one below this too. Your work, good work. Your videos are awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it, Matt. Cypher H, you said, what if we are already and always have been human space race? What if life on Earth is just a cocoon life change or matter into another form of matter? It could very well be. You know, like I said, to me, we're like the new kids on the block, right? Like I said, I mean, let's suppose for a moment that we were a long, we weren't even like, we were still like ape, this caveman and stuff like that, just a regular Neanderthal. Okay, let's suppose, there was life, in our solar system, but they just left us be. But or they were here at one time and then they went off to other, they've learned how to actually fly, meaning go out into space, spacefaring and everything else, and then they took off out of the solar system. We're now learning how to crawl and then learning how to walk, finding out things about our own planets. Like I said, the new six species of walking fish that walk on their fins. And they said they used to have these thousands of years ago, but now recently we're finding them again. Mariana's Trench, deepest place in the planet, in the ocean. Finally get down to that thing, and I mean, barely, because like I said, you could have went like that and tapped on the side of it and probably caved it in. But now picture something that could just go into there with ease and just go in and out of caverns that are huge underground. And how will we know? We don't even know. Now we're going out now. The first time they see a structure on the moon, of course, we crap ourselves and go, how did that get there from here? Because, of course, our arrogance would believe, well, like, there had to be somebody here on our planet that sent it there. Then when you get there, you find it's nothing like we've ever had, no technology we ever had. Right off the bat, boom, it sends your mind reeling. Because now after that, you get the sickness, and rightfully so. It would make sense to me if I saw that for the very first time, get people up there, get men up there. I want to see what the stuff is. I want to handle it. I want it back here. That's why these missions were what they were. They weren't up there for rocks. I don't think so. You're not, like I said, you're not going to spend millions of dollars, take the chance of what X amount of lives to go there. Just get a couple rocks, bring them back. We'll just dissect them, check them out. John Devon, you said, love John Carter. Absolutely. Good movie. You guys haven't seen that. You need to check that out. It's good movie. Tim Houston says, must be off. Thanks, Chris, and good night all. All right, Tim, thanks for being here, and have yourself a good weekend there, right? Yeah, Elaine, we were just talking about that. In fact, I got it up here. In fact, I'll give everybody the link if they want it. I don't know if this link will even fit in here. Let me see if it'll even fit in. I doubt it. Looks like it's more than 200 characters. Ooh, 195. There's a link right there, guys. If you want to check it out. It says, scientists detect unexplainable radio signal from outer space that repeats every 16 days. Imagine that. What was the other one I had here, too? Oh, I love this. NASA's next Mars rover would get one of these 9 names. I don't know if you guys seen that, but they had a poll trying to see who would, come up with the name for the new rover, right? Let me see. We got endurance, tenacity, promise, perseverance, vision, clarity, integrity, fortitude, courage. How about ruins inspector? How about something like that? Of course, they try to pass it off as some kind of star. And don't get me wrong, guys. I believe it could very well be that, right? As far as like when they're talking about those signals, could very well be where they're talking about a planetary body going in front and stuff like that. But come on, they even said maybe it's on a planetary body, period. Well, like I said, picture like a lighthouse, which is constantly got to go light going around, right? And it's basically a light beacon. Now, if it's on a body, maybe it's doing the same thing. Swerving, going there, and then coming towards Earth. Going there, going towards Earth, and coming towards Earth. And vice, and it just keeps doing that. But it's every 16 days. It's not every day. So maybe it just takes every 16 days to finally come to our direction and we see it. But to me, it's like they're willing to just dismiss anything that's got to do with maybe alien life. I don't think so. I think they're communicating throughout the universe. And I think we're just not now starting to see this. And I think we are. Whether it's through light or through radio waves, I think that's absolutely makes sense. And just because it's only a few milliseconds doesn't mean it can't have information within it. Like if you had a laser light one, poof, and just shot it for a couple, just boom, just real quick. How much information could be put in that light? Especially if we're talking about quantum communications. How much information could be passed through that within a millisecond? And it's flashed throughout the universe. It's just like it's almost like it's today's news thrown across the universe, and just planets just receive it and they go, okay, this is what's going on, and planet BS. Okay, ooh, big sale at Orbit In. I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, they, like I said, they automatically dismissed that, and like I said, the guy was kind of smug about it. The guy from SETI. Oh yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's like a few billion miles out that way, and then we got something that's like a whole lot closer. A couple million light years over here. Okay, ever occur to you they might be communicating back and forth? I mean, I'm confused. I think they know the answer to that, and the fact that if it is radio waves, then they are on the right frequency, or they're receiving those frequencies, and that thing happens to fall in between there. This is the reason why we were able to pick it up. And if it's light, then we're looking at a light spectrum and we can see it. And either way, we can try to see that light and see if there's information embedded in that light. So either way you look at it, we're going to be pulling that apart. You can guarantee it if they haven't already done that. Lane Wentworth. How about Ruins is back? That made my night. Well, and it's true though. Why don't we call it for what it is? Ruins Hunter or something like that. Oh, you're fine, Elaine. You're fine. He said, sorry, Chris, I came in a little late. You're fine. Although we are pretty much almost ready to wrap it up, but still. There you go, Rolando. USS Excelsior. There you go. It's not quite the Enterprise, but it'll work. Well, not really. It's at the Excelsior, but Pete Ferrero. None of these, none of those names describe NASA. H-Toss, one EV said dual neutron stars or sporadic outburst. Well, that's what they're claiming. That's like they're saying it's planetary or some body out there. Um, totally willing to dismiss anything that might be alien, though. Like the guy from MIT when I explained that. Like I said, the story highlights the birth originated from a galaxy 500 million light years away. It's probably not aliens, MIT said in a statement. Who the hell are you to say that? It's probably not. They didn't say definite. Probably not. Like, what were they talking about? That mega structure that was supposed to be next to this one planet, right? And they could see it because it would actually go in the front of the planet, and it was blocking out its light. It was reflecting light, and it would literally block the planet completely out. They're saying, what the hell is that? One of the greatest mysteries in astronomy is the origin of such burst. They don't know what it is, but we're going to rule out aliens. Come on now. I think you could, as a scientist, you can't rule anything out. I'm not saying you got to believe that it is. I'm just saying, but you shouldn't rule it out. Vincent Milley said Earth has had life on it for millions of years ago. No sign left other than ooparts. They are called. Look how far we got in only the last 100 years, from horse to buggy to space station overhead. Well, yeah, and I think it's a lot further than that. I think we're a lot further off than we think. Um, some people are speculating 50 to 100 years, ahead of the public. And you go, well, it doesn't really sound like that much. Are you kidding me? Do you remember the brick phone compared to the phones you got now, like the iPhones and stuff? What are you kidding me? Hell, you go back to the 80s. What was it, the 80s? And they had the big brick phone. It was like 3 watt, friggin' phone. And if you were walking around with that now, people would think you're a mental case. But back in the day, when you had that, you were the shit. I mean, like, oh, 3 watts. And even then, I'd rather have that phone today than that, because at 3 watts, the chance of you not be able to hit a repeater is like slim and none with that thing, compared to these phones. I got this Amazon dot here. It's probably listening to me. The government's going, he's at it again. Try listen to me talk about you. You're right about that, Matt. You said slowly but surely happening and the truth will finally come out. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's getting there. Yep. Moon mission, you said in the thing Buzz said about Phobos. Well, when you got a megalithic structure on one of these moons, of course you question it. What is it? And back then when the Soviet Union had their Phobos spacecraft, I think it was, I think they had Phobos 1 and 2. One of them totally flew by it and totally missed it. The other one was right next to Phobos. Funny enough, they called it Phobos, right? Because they wanted to study it. And then they claim that there's some kind of shadow or something that was around there. And after that shadow, the last picture it took was this cigar shaped, what looked like shadow on Phobos. And of course, you see the picture of the moon that the spacecraft is taking a picture of. And of course, after you see that picture, that last picture, you don't see that. You hear nothing from that craft again. It's gone. Is it the real deal? I don't know. The Sky Hunter, night, all from Scotland. The Sky Hunter. I don't know if you ever left that link. You ever leave that link to your site? I don't remember seeing it. Did I jump over it? I would have posted it for you. Matt McCarthy said, "Screw the government, Chris, and keep up the good work." Well, we can only pull apart what they give us, right? So hopefully, and I'm hoping to hell, and I know you guys are too. I'm hoping that these new photos are going to be worth something. Um, but I'm starting to see this year coming up, we're going to start seeing more and more pictures because maybe they'll claim, well, because of the resolution of the cameras we had in the other rover, which is supposed to be, if you read on it, it's supposed to be able to take HD photos as well as video. HD video. I've never ever seen an HD video. Ever. Now, we've seen photos, and some of them are pretty pristine. If you look at the Molly cam, which is right on the end of the turret, on the arm itself, looking at and like in a microscopic view, crystal clear photos. I mean, they couldn't be more crystal clear if you wanted them to be. Get anything that's, if it looks up, complete trash. Why? It should be crystal clear. I mean, the way they make it sound, like I said, if you guys are not familiar with this, and I'll say this before I leave, the rover has what they call Z stacking. Z stacking is they'll take the original photo and they might take, like I say, there's a rock outcropping. They'll take multiple pictures. It could be 4, 6, 8, 10 photos. And what they do is when they take a photo, they click, 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 click. What they do is they take a picture of it, and then anything in the background further away, they make sure it adjusts itself to take it clear. So every time it looks back, it readjusts to take clearer and clearer. So everything in that picture is crystal clear. That's what they claim. So when you get it, everything is completely clear from front to back of the image. However, every time I look at them photos, they look like complete trash. And when you also Z stack, that means you can have the original photo and then put any piece of trash over it you want to. Digital overlay over your original photo. There you go. Oh, you did drop it, Sky Hunter? If you can, drop it again because I didn't see it. Like I said, I'll drop it, just real quick. I don't know if anybody else seen it. All right, Rachel. Yeah, we'll be blasting on here ourselves. He said, "I got to go. Have a good night, Chris. Bye, guys. Have a good weekend." All right, Rachel. Good seeing you here. Much love to you. Chronicle of Gods. You think the Phobos craft was a more? No, I don't. Probably not. I mean, the way that the shadow was, of course, it was kind of a little fuzzy the way they showed it in the picture. I don't believe it was. Now, I'm not saying it's out of the question because if you look at the shape of that thing and you see the shadow of it, it does actually look like that same kind of shape. but it looked more of a smooth oval as opposed to if you look at a more, it was like kind of thicker on this end and kind of a little bit thinner on this end. So I don't know. John Devon, you said, Chris, I love the way you show detail so we can understand what you believe. I'm looking for stuff in yours, Jimmy's, and others, and upgrading to get more into it. I won't have a channel, but I will share. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, a lot of people do that, right? They just want to do it in their own spare time now. I've known people that said, man, I started off with this and I can't stop. And I was the same way. That's why I do these videos. It's just awesome. Vincent Miller says we are overdue for another solar flare. Will trash our computer systems and cause havoc all over the planet. Beware and prepare. Well, for everybody on the planet, now I'm not talking about the government because you could bet they're EMP insulated and everything else and whatever they need to do to their stuff so they're not completely in the dark, if you get what I mean. But the rest of the civilization, yeah, I don't see that as a good thing because remember when they had a couple hurricanes, right? I remember there was one not too long ago hit the Jersey Shore, New York City. And I remember this happens everywhere. The second the power goes out, or there's a snowstorm, whatever it may be, excuse me, or a snowstorm, right? Picture this a minute. I remember seeing this. It had to been in the nightly news or something. But what was funny about it is people were literally beating each other's rear ends in to get water. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Now, that's 1, maybe 2 days. Now, I want you to envision an EMP hitting Earth, frying everything that's electronic. You can't drive your car, your phone's junk. Everything's a paperweight now. Nothing works. You're thrown back in the dark ages. Now, I want you to picture that happening 1 month, 2 months in a row, 3 months in a row. Yeah, prepare isn't even the word for it. Dig yourself in a hole and stay there. Matt, Chris, all of us here will stand with you when the time comes. I will travel from the UK to fight the government with you, and they are raping the humanity of all freedom. Full stop. Well, yeah, I mean, you hate it when you're censored because if you're trying to find information about anything, and you get censored, it sucks. I know some countries they can't even watch some of the videos here, and vice versa. Like if I try to find something, unless of course you got a VPN, right? But if a lot of times if you go click on a video, even here on YouTube, if you go to click on it and it's somehow it's in another country, you say, sorry, it's not in your, geographical area, so you can't view it, blah, 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 blah. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, you just hope your freedoms. This is the reason why we fight for it, right? The people will stand and the government will have to listen at some point. And, there's a lot more of us than the government, even though they have their way of making people, whip them into submission, so to speak. So, yeah. Chris, time flies when you are having fun. I have to go back to the house because my battery is low, but we'll be here till the end. Well, we are coming to an end anyway. It's 3 hours and 20 minutes. You guys are awesome. I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm just sitting here, not even thinking, and the time's like flying by because we're just doing this, right? That's what makes it awesome. You guys are great. And I mean that. It's not a bet a bunch of people I'd rather spend a Friday evening with. So, but anyway, guys, been great as always. Like I said, we will have some merch in there at some point. I was really hoping to have it here today. Who knows? Maybe it'll be over the weekend. I'll get it and whatever. I'm going to be going away for the weekend anyway. So it's in my son's competition, so I got to travel out of state. But, so I'm hoping that I'll be here. My daughter will come by and see if it stuff's here. Hopefully it will. And I can show you some of the stuff and then, we'll get it rocking. You know what I mean? So, ain't nothing wrong with sporting a good Mars Anomaly shirt right there in the T on the V-neck or right there. Bam, right there on your hoodie. Oh yeah. So just be looking out for that. I'll be keeping you guys abreast of what's going on. So yeah. But everybody have yourself a great weekend. Great Friday night. As always, you guys are the bomb, and I appreciate all of you guys, whether it be, any way you support the channel, whether it's monetary, verbally, whatever. You guys are the bomb. Like I said, you guys are the best. So, I hope everybody has a great night. I know some of you guys are already in the morning because you live over the big pond. So, just have a great day, great weekend. You guys are the best. And like I said, thanks for your support. Always appreciated. You guys know it. Anyway, guys, peace. Everybody have yourself a good night. Cheers.